皆さんこんにちは、しんぺいです。今回のゲストはオンラインポーカープロ歴10年、ドイツのポーカー戦略ニュースサイトポーカーストラテジー .com の、コーチでありますチェコ人のポーカープロLemOn36 ことVáclav Dušekさんにお越しいただきました。Václav, thank you so much for coming today's show.
Konnichiwa. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be on your podcast.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to call you Lemon because that's something that everyone knows, right?
Yes, let's go for that. Yes.
Yeah, Lemon. And I already introduced you as 10 years of experience poker pro, and you started before Solver came out, GTO came out 2014, and now it's 2024 is becoming professional poker player. The dream is alive. Is it possible?
I would say it's changing, but yes, for sure it's possible. But the nature of you becoming a professional poker player and staying a professional poker player is obviously different. You know, back in the day, you would talk to friends, you would not use any tools basically, and it was more about the people being talented and focusing and not using any tools. They could make it easily, you know. But now you have so many tools like obviously GTO Wizard, you have the solvers, you have Poker Ranger, Equilab, you have all these advanced tools that you have. That I would say the nature of a poker player is different, and you actually will have to put in more work than you had to 10 years ago. Even if you have really, really strong talent, it will be tough to basically, it's like, pardon my English, pissing against the wind if you don't take the new tools on board. So yes, it is possible, but it is different. And unless you are extremely talented on picking up what other players are doing, you will have to put in more work than the pros 10 years ago had to do away from the table.
Yeah. As you mentioned, like a different skill requires, it's more of something like a memory, right? Like you see it's more academic way, I think. Now before maybe before GTO, you kind of play street poker-ish, but like now you training, how to put your time and time management in a training session. It's more professional approach needed, I think.
Yeah, I would say the thing is, this is the thing. Talent didn't go anywhere, right? The really good players are really good at figuring things out on the spot. They will still do really well, but and nothing's changed there. If you have more talent for poker, it obviously will do really, really well. So that street poker, the adjusting to your opponents, figuring out what they are doing, that's still the same. The thing is that the foundation on which you build in poker, it's gotten so much stronger than 10 years ago, because back then nobody understood the proper theory, right? Sizings were all over the place. If you go even longer, nobody was even free bet bluffing. So yeah, talent still shines through, but the thing is the knowledge of the fundamentals is so much better than it was back in the day, that if you have talent but you don't have the fundamentals, it's going to be extremely tough, So talent is still important. There definitely is the street poker adjusting to people. I know with Dara, you talked about people abusing the solvers. Yeah. They just copy them. So no, you can't just copy the solvers, but understanding how they work, how the fundamentals actually operate is basically necessary. So the fundamentals are so much out there that you have to understand them. But I don't think the street poker has gone away,
I see.
But it's just that we understand the fundamentals so much better, that you can't only have talent and street poker. You also need to understand the fundamentals.
Yeah. As you said, there is so much poker theory before. Back in the day, there's no maybe net advantage or range advantage. There's not much of that. Polarizing, linear, like there, but not rare. But so I think for the learning curve got so much harder, right? Like for complete beginner 2024, you don't even know where to start. So
right, actually, I want to talk about this one because I know Shinpei Poker Strategy has an eye on you, because we have one thing that the German community has brought in, they have tested it. So basically, if you're starting NL2, NL5. I think there is a way actually that you can jump in and do really well. And how you can do it is you can use the Poker Strategy Beginner's Guide. And I must say the entire industry is noticing Japan. I know KK Poker had an event there. And the German community has this very, very well-tested guide that beginners can use and start winning from NL2 and NL5. That, you can use this and start winning. But obviously, beyond the first two limits, NL2 and NL5, Once you get there, you can actually beat them with this very straightforward, very modern strategy. The more you start moving up, the more there is a strong necessity to understand the concepts, especially pre-flop, to take them on board, and to both try to exploit your opponents at the tables, but also try to understand the actual fundamentals. So in that way, a lot more work is actually needed if you go beyond NL25, NL50, NL100, and further. Work away from the tables is absolutely more necessary than back in the day.
Yeah. So that this is something I wanted to ask like later on, but let's jump right into this. So this is developed by the German pros, right? Paxis and Fallout 86. I know who's Fallout 86. He's the part of the Ben CV's Raise Your Edge community, and he's a coach for a cash game. But I could not find any info about Paxis. Do you know anything about him?
I have no idea. I know he's a really fun guy. I know he's been in the German poker strategy for ages. He's one of the mods there. So he's just been a poker player that's been playing cash games for a very long time, and he's taken it up on himself to go ahead and try to make sure that beginners that jump into poker, that they can learn this straightforward guide and they basically can win. And obviously him and Fallout developed it. They looked at solvers as well. And the great thing is, for us in the English community, they've really tested it. So I saw their 3-hour streams where they're going back and forth. What should we do? Over 6 months, they kept refining the guide. So now there is this guide that beginners can actually jump into, use it, very straightforward rules, and start winning right off the bat.
Yeah. This is like, is this real, right? Like when you first see it, maybe back in the day when I learn from poker strategy. Yeah, sure, this is great. But 2024 with a Solver GTO, like, can you actually copy and paste? And because there are so many results, right? Like you already posted, and there's a German community. There are many players actually, graphics like, going up like this. And I look at the actual strategy, and in position you range bet, right? Like so many certain things that I can already see it's printing money. So let's see. Like, can you go dive into the more of a strategic, like what's this is great about? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So obviously, I'm not those guys spend months actually developing this. So if you are watching this and you are a beginner, you're wondering, okay, well, how should I approach it? How should I approach learning? First of all, I would say there are two approaches, right? First approach is you want to start winning right away, and you actually want to be a serious poker player. And the other one that some other players have taken is if you're ready to lose money at first, you want to find your style, and when you want to purposefully play with 100 VPIP, don't care about anything, learn through trial and error. So obviously at poker strategy, when you get free first money, we want you to win right away, right? But that's not to say if you guys want to play poker for right, you just want to try it out, you're ready to keep depositing $50 here and there, you want to play that crazy style, figure out what's going on, I think it's for you, But for this beginner strategy, how it actually operates, right? So I looked at the fundamentals. When it goes to pre-flop, basically, do you know what the optimal strategy would be in poker if we had no blinds, as they didn't have in the Wild West?
It's just aces, and everybody folds.
Yeah, if you don't have the blinds, you basically just fold everything. And when you have the aces, you just go all in, right? And obviously, they will probably shoot you for doing this in the Wild West. But it's an unbeatable strategy because you don't basically lose anything.
Yeah.
So what they have taken, and they've taken the concept that's universally true at micro stakes. People don't play well enough around the blinds. They don't free bet enough. They don't defend the big blind properly. They are not raising flops properly. At NL2 and NL5, definitely not. So basically, the pre-flop strategy is built all around trying to play in position as much as we can, trying to steal the blinds. And when we are not in a steal situation, basically we'll be playing really tight. So when I looked at it, I was like, oh my, are you guys opening 3 big blinds per 100? No, you're opening 3 big blinds under the gun with 14 King Jack offsuit? Is this 2024? What the hell is going on here, right? But the authors explained to me this is why. And then on the button, if you look at the modern software out there, GTO Wizard, we're actually opening slightly looser than what and you it's your first day in poker, right? Second day in poker, and we're telling you to open looser than an optimal solver would tell you to. And the reason is basically simple. You're trying to go ahead and steal the blinds. And as you saw with the post-flop strategy as well, basically attached to that, you have 100% c-bet in position because people just don't know how to play against that at the lowest limits online. So that's the pre-flop strategy, basically all around stealing blinds, all around making it pretty easy, even though we're still reasonably loose. And then post-flop, there are some rules of thumb. So basically the guys, they try to simplify it. There will be some things that the solvers absolutely hate. Like, for example, out of position, you're c-betting 2/3 of the pot. You're only c-betting big, right? And you're only betting your made hands, which means your strong draws, your top pair plus, and you're check folding everything else. And basically, with a loose range, right? So obviously, any really good player would show you the strategy, right? But the whole point is that we want the strategy to be straightforward for the beginners. Go ahead and bet 2/3 both sides, but not have too many difficult spots on the turn, and then be able to follow the strategy as well. So it's basically built around these rules of thumb that will apply to most situations, 92-95% of situations. Obviously, there will be the 5% of situations where this will not work out, but on average, this guide will very much work. And there's actually one simple math thing that I realized only recently. When we're out of position, we are check folding on all flops with anything less than a top pair, unless it's an ace or a king, ace XX or king XX, right? So unless an ace is on the flop or king and lower cards are on the flop, we are check folding. And Shinpei, do you know how often the flops that contain a high card and ace or a high card king, do you know how often they actually happen?
I just saw the post that you made, so it's 40%.
Oh, you saw the
right?
post! God damn it! It's a spoiler! I had no idea, guys. So this is why it's so clever. Is even though it seems like, oh my god, I'm only attacking 2 cards, right? I'm only attacking 2 cards. And your brain, obviously, this is the problem in poker, combinatorics, right? Suited hands, offsuited hands, and stuff like that. Even though we are only c-betting 2 flops with everything as well out of position, those 2 flops are actually 40% of all possible flops, where you have the high card ace, high card king. Basically, they are the rules of thumb. They are made to make the strategy relatively simple. They are built around the opponents at NO2 and NO5. One thing I have to warn you, though, and the German team was very cler about this, it's not the beginner strategy that you had back in the day. At poker strategy, we had a short stack strategy, right? We had play 5% of hands, open raise, 2/3 pot size, bet every street in every situation. So, guys, it is 2024, okay? If you're expecting something like this and to actually win online, I will have to disappoint you, Even for me, to go ahead and understand the strategy perfectly, it does take some time. They are very simple, straightforward rules. If you use this strategy, you will win at the smallest stakes online. If you go play in the casino, you will beat your opponents. But it is modern and it is a lot more complex than it used to be. But the authors try to not make it too complex. So if anyone is going to look at it, yes, it will take you some time to actually memorize this. We couldn't just do very straightforward 3 rules kind of strategy in 2024. But what for me is most important, and now you mentioned, the mistakes that beginners are making, there are actual clear rules. If you look on YouTube, for example, there are people trying to coach beginners and they say, oh, you divide the hands into 3 buckets, these you check call and stuff like that. They don't have these clearly defined rules. In my experience, even for me, when I first started, when you don't give people clear rules on what to do in what situation, they start going completely off the rails, Just mental game, you don't have any when you start poker. So I really like this. But if you guys are watching this, you want to give it a shot, don't be discouraged by so many rules being in there because they are necessary to beat the games really well. They really do work, but it might take some time getting used to, but hopefully they're simple enough. That's my take on the guide, and we'll be making videos around it. And I know Poker Strategy is talking to even you to see if the Japanese community maybe can take a look at it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because I just shared the English version that you translated, and there were quite a lot of reaction. Like more than 1,000 people checked it out. And it spread it, and people are really keen on how to start.
Wait, is that where the views came from? I can't. Seriously, you shared the guide in English.
Yeah.
Oh my God! We had about 80 views because we didn't do any advertising for it, right?
Okay.
We just silently posted it, and there was like 180 people, and suddenly we had like 1,000 view spike. So that was the Japanese community.
That's
oh
me.
my God! I can't believe it.
Yeah. Because the majority of players in Japanese community, probably 85 to 90% are beginners or like an intermediate, lower than intermediate, and people are so eager. Because when I came back to the Japanese poker community back in early 2023, I tried to share the original pokerstrategy.com, strategy, and back in the day, mid-stack strategy, short stack.
Yeah.
This doesn't work. You don't really 3BB, maybe, just some of them probably work, but I didn't feel like it's right. And when I saw this modern version 2024, obviously, this is it. So I just shared and they go, boom, right?
Yeah. And so I'm actually curious. Obviously, I spoke to some guys, some organizers, and I couldn't believe that when you have a tournament and your buy-ins exceed the guarantee, the prize pool stays the same because you have to have the workaround.
Yeah.
So how have you found the Japanese community? You only came back in 2023.
Yeah.
How was the attitude towards gambling before then, and how is it changing, and why? More importantly.
I would say, so the poker is something unique, right? So if you're playing poker and if you're in the poker community, everybody thinks that the poker is not gambling, right? It's a skill game, it's a mind game, strategy game, you can win. But everybody just looking from outside of the poker community thinks that we are degenerate poker gamblers, and also we're just kind of part of criminals. Because end of last year, Japanese government mentioned that online gambling, including poker, is illegal. Specifically, even if you're in Japan, you access the PokerStars, KK, whatever, the outside of the foreign server, it's still illegal. And we start seeing some people getting actually arrested. They get indicted. It's the surroundings, environment of the poker in Japan is it's not good. And as you mentioned in the post, we're expecting to open a casino in 2030. And as that date getting closer, people wants to shut down online casinos, right? Because they want to send the people to the actual casino revenue.
Will it be state-mandated casinos, or how does it work?
So what do you mean state?
Will the government actually give out licenses?
Yes,
and will they get money from the casinos?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So this is official legal casino. The first one. Yeah. So I do think that the poker community in Japan is against a strong wind. We're just climbing a hard mountain. But the poker itself is, getting popular. A lot of YouTubers out there, and a guy like you, even like English community, like a poker content, it's so fun to watch. So I do believe that poker is going to still grow. However, the legal issue and also the social stigmatized, it's a weird place we are in.
Yeah, this is a problem, for example, in Poland, in Czech Republic. Czech Republic, not so much. They just greeted the government. But the problem, guys, with poker is, and if you are watching this, maybe you will agree with me, the problem is poker is a small niche industry, right? We are a part of gambling, and as poker players, you're watching this, you're like, oh, gambling is all poker, right? But if you look at the volumes, if you even look at the slots views on YouTube, yeah, unfortunately, in terms of money, the governments just see us as an afterthought. It's not even, you come to the politicians, you go into senators. In Poland, there was actually a poker player in the actual Senate, and he was trying to convince the people that poker is something different. This is what we are struggling with in most of these jurisdictions, is that the government just cannot see the difference between poker and the gambling. And the reason why they don't see it is because the poker volume of the money played, the taxes it brings, is just not big enough for them to care,
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what the solution is. Basically about trying to make it popular as much as you can. It's exactly what you are doing, That's obviously really, really important. And the second thing you mentioned, poker content, YouTube, you can't ban YouTube, in Japan, you can't block YouTube selectively. You can't ban TikTok. TikTok, never mind. On TikTok, you can't have poker hands, but Instagram, Facebook, you can't really be banning those. So and it's kind of a golden era now for poker content, So I'm not surprised that it's
definitely
happening.
the volume part. So if you combine all the online gambling and sports betting and poker, the poker only makes 5% of the entire revenue, right? And then everything else, 95% is casino sports betting. So there's not much incentives to government to do anything about it. So that's something that we're facing. The challenge. Entire poker community is challenge. It's challenge.
Yeah. It's everywhere, of course.
Yeah. Let me just quickly remind them today. So in Japanese, they can actually ask question in Japanese. ということで今、現在英語で、インタビューをしていますが、もし質問があれば日本語で、コメントしていただいても、英語に直して、Václavさんにね、質問できますので、ぜひよろしくお願いします。ということで、So we do have so much content out there, YouTube, so much resource, so much training materials, and even the beginner's guide, something like that. But what is the biggest obstacle to break through from micro to the next step? What stops people to going through the next stage?
Right, so I can tell you my story, basically how I went from the highest I placed. I want to, by the way, guys, say you're looking at me. I'm not the top pro, right? I actually worked with the best players in the world, and one of the reasons why I'm focusing on content more is that I realized, the talent side I don't have it as much as they do. So highest I placed about 400 NL on Asian apps, by the way. We can talk about it later. But for me, basically on micro stakes, if you play, you can play with these simple rules. The way I play this, I would basically know my opponents. I would play really exploitively, I would think about my two cards and I would take notes, detailed notes about your opposition. And so my fundamentals weren't that great. The way I actually moved up is just through networking. I met a friend who was like, oh, listen, what are you doing? I was listen, at micro stakes, 0 losing months for about 5 years. I had, playing NL25, NL16, and just being happy there. My friend, what are you doing? Why don't you just move up, And the thing is, when you start moving to NL100, NL200, you have to start thinking in ranges. The solvers actually make it much easier for you. Your fundamentals have to be much, much stronger. The players, you can't just push around players just by figuring them out and having a really simple strategy. You try to have to think a little bit more in an advanced way, in more of a ranged way. For me, what worked was simply coaching, and that's why, for example, Dara O'Kearney, he tells even beginners that, and the guide kind of helps with that, you should be learning GTO even at an early stage, even though it might actually bring you worse results. For example, at micro stakes, if you do play GTO against many players with a high rake, it's not going to be optimal, but it allows you to think a certain way, and that step between NL50, NL100, NL200 really is about thinking in ranges, thinking about your overall strategy. Number one thing that my coach taught me is that I'm not just thinking, okay, if should I call here on the flop? Someone bets, right? And I'm thinking, oh, should I call on the flop? You think about what happens on the flop with your range and with your hand. The strong players, and the higher you move up, the more they do it. You also think about, okay, so he does this. What will happen on the turn, right? What am I going to do on which river cards? How will the boards actually change? What hands do I have in this situation? Basically, the higher you move up, the further in the hand you have to plan, the more you have to understand the ranges and fundamentals, And I think that's the main difference between micro stakes. At micro stakes and L2 and L5, we're going to give you a guide and you can follow these rules, right? You don't have to know why they work that way. You don't have to know why you're betting 100% out of position when you are really tight under the gun, but very loose on the button, right? But the higher you move up, the more you have to understand it. And the more you understand it, then you will be able to adjust to your opponents. And you do it by going further down the tree, understanding it better, and adapting basically to everyone else and having stronger.
Yeah.
So that's the major leap for me.
Yeah, I think there's a big debate still in Japan, and maybe some poker community, is GTO or exploit. Right? It's not GTO or exploit. Yeah, you learn GTO, right? You understand what's the middle. My analogy is like a speed limit on the highway. So what's the speed limit. If the guy is going over oh, he's going over, he's going slower. You understand he's going slower. Unless what's the solution, what's the what you should do. You don't even know if he's doing right or wrong. So yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
So understanding it is very important. And one thing about it, Darrell Kearney's book, I just read it recently. You had him on. He showed some really interesting things. So even with solvers, you can actually try to understand how to exploit your opponents. And I think the most surprising thing is, for example, if your opponent is too loose, you're on the cutoff, someone is too loose behind you. Standard, like, if someone's too loose, I'm gonna be tighter, right? With my range. Actually, they used solvers for exploitive purposes. They added the no blocked range in there, and they found that you're supposed to be actually, if someone is looser after you, you're supposed to be looser yourself because they're not playing optimally, So obviously the GTO and exploit, it was at first, I think even 3 years ago, there was like, oh, these guys are GTO players, or oh, these guys are exploitive players. Now you see Daniel Negriano talking about ranges and solvers and get coaches. We did play against that Polk, So no, guys, it's fucking simple. Pardon my French. It's just poker, all right? And understanding it, the solvers are not something you should be copying. Solvers help you to understand the game. They give you the fundamentals, and they help you understand it better. So the top players, the top opponents that I talk to, obviously, they use the solvers to actually better exploit their opponent, exactly as you said. You know what's the optimal speed, so you don't run out of fuel, for example. They know how to go one way or the other. So yeah, I think it was fun. I think the GTO against exploitive, we had so much drama in the community. Oh, yeah. I guess Japan is exploring poker now, and the drama is it's died down, and everyone realizes that it was a lot of fun. It was like a Korean soap opera, but it was really pointless because it's all just poker, and use whatever tools you have at your disposal. Yeah. And you shouldn't play only GTO, you shouldn't play only exploitive, you should basically try to merge both together.
I see. So yeah, even the beginner, if you're just starting out, just start familiarizing yourself with GTO and what's game theory. It's important. But let's say you understand what's position, you understand what's the hand, made hand is, but you don't know much about it. Where do you need to start? Do you understand value vetting, importance of position? There are so many theories, but which part should they focus first?
All right, so basically, you should think about opportunity cost and where your win rate actually comes from, right? For example, I showed the table on how many flops come out as ace XX or king XX, right? So basically, the big mistake that a lot of people, the game is so amazing. This is to study solvers and study. It's so beautiful. The most spots that people want to study is, okay, I got 3-bet pre-flop, I check raised him twice, and on the river I hit my 2-outer, but I think he might have the third nuts in this, in this 3-bet on the river, and they're gonna spend 7 hours running the simulation and studying the solution, and it's so much fun. You argue with people and you're like, no, okay, and then you look at the solver, all right, it does this combo 12% of the time instead of 24% of the time that I thought, and then these same fucking people will be check calling out of position. They'll check raise percentage will be 5% instead of 15% that it's supposed to be in a spot that happens every second orbit, right? So basically, where you should start is the situations that happen the most frequently. In Hold'em 6 max cash games, I think the button obviously happens a lot, but the toughest for vast majority of people is playing in the big blind out of position, because that's a really tough spot that happens in the big blind. You call by far the most out of all situations. Again, you are defending your blind. We talked about this before. So for me, when I basically went from the micros and I had this amazing coach that was crushing 10-20, the number one thing is, first I looked at my stats and looked at his stats. I know there might be a question about the data mining and stuff like that. But what I found was that the big blind was the biggest difference in how he plays, how much looser he is. So this is basically, guys, when it comes to studying, you don't want to overthink it. Of course, sometimes it's fun, when you get check raised and you run into the nuts, it's fun to study that. Oh, was I right? And stuff like that. But to actually improve as much as you can, look for those most frequent edges that you can find. Big blind, button, very common situations, the things that happen most frequently. Because if you are starting out, even if you are playing in L50, chances are that basically you are making big errors in these fundamentals. And even the top players, when I see top players, they teach me. They would open GTO Wizard, they would practice against the solver. They would run just a simple free bet spot on the flop over and over and over. They would go for hours practicing the fundamentals. Okay, I free bet, I get called. This is very common in poker, right? So they just drill that, see if they're right, then they look at the solution. And then we talk about, okay, why is it doing this? And how do we actually use it against our opponents? Yeah. So if you don't want to move up, especially if you are not crushers, obviously in Japan, you don't have as much poker. This is what you want to be doing. But don't forget about fun, guys. Poker is fun. If you, screw it. If you want to study that river spot that happens once in 1 million hands, go for it, go for it. If you want to figure out if you were supposed to fold and you ran into a straight flush. Yeah. So don't forget, poker is fun. But if you actually want to methodically improve your strategies, you should look at the spots that happen the most frequently, where you make the biggest errors, basically. It's not fun, I know, but that's just how it happens.
Yeah, I see. Oh, we got the comment. Massan-san, Václav-san, すごい楽しそうにポーカーの話をしていますね. Well, he's saying that you talk so much, like when you talk about poker, you look so much like really excited and fun. Yeah, you love poker, I think, right?
One thing, actually, I had a bit of a crisis, in poker, because I've been playing poker for so long. I don't know, 10 years of being a cash game pro. And what happened is I had my friend coach who was crushing. At one point, he actually moved to PLO and then he stopped playing altogether. Actually, I realized, oh my God, I was literally sweating the best players in the world at micro stakes. We were literally talking hands, giving each other advice. And I'm still at NL 200, NL 100, and those guys are making literal millions playing with, Russian mafia. They're crashing online. So I think for like half a year, I was pretty down about cash games, but like recently, especially with the content, it's all exciting. I'm starting to travel to live events, coaching beginners again, I'm really excited about poker, and I must say, Ed, it's some sort of a second poker boom now. With all the short form content, with all the festivals being super popular, on YouTube, you're getting hundreds of billions of views on
also
on poker
the
content.
Casino that they started doing live streams, right? And a lot of like a crypto king or like money making some businessmen show up and just like play. And it's I would say it's a third, because the first one is a money maker. And second one is around the online. I mean, you can combine that. But yeah, definitely we're experiencing some kind of new era. And Japan is definitely experiencing the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, Japan has such a big advantage because in the West, there's so many professional players, and so many people trying their edges. And it seems like what your government is doing, it will probably go the way of restricted player pools. If they will apply the live ones, I'm assuming they're going. Listen, I hate it. Obviously, I can't play with you Japanese players. But if they will legalize it, I'm guessing they will try to do the protectionist thing. Try to have a local operator like Sweden, where you will be able to play. But the thing is, with this popularity online, we have the same experiencing the strategies. Just people moving up. So I'm kind of jealous that I'm the Japanese in Japan, because it really will be exciting, because you will both be experiencing the strategy and you are getting the media exposure. And what you mentioned is obviously a big deal. All the big festivals like World Poker Tour, World Series of Poker, they are starting to realize the importance of the internet, right? Oh, yeah. Back in the day, again, like we had the GTO against exploitive, we would have this war, you are a live player. Okay. You're an online player. Oh, okay, nerd, right? So you're live and online, and we're like Romeo and Juliet, right? They would, like, the families would never talk to each other. Some people would try both, but it would never happen. Now they're starting to realize the companies, the live companies are, oh, hang on, we can get players from the online scene and vice versa. So suddenly, again, there's the change is starting to stop. And the beautiful thing is, for people that make content like us, the sites are trying to hop on it so fast, So I actually managed to KK Poker invited me to Bratislava. You know, I managed to luck box. I was an alternate for a journalist that couldn't make it, and I went to Vegas. You know, like I'm on poker strategy for 10 years, but I'm only making online content, cash games. I'm going to this big tournament. So yeah, it's really exciting, and they're trying to catch up. And you know what? In about 10, 20 years, it's all going to be corporate. You know, it's all going to be like algorithms and stuff like that. So right now it's time to enjoy poker, and I think in Japan it's really exciting because this media coverage will coincide with it actually starting to be played as well for the first time. So it's really, really exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Masan. That's my. I know it's illegal right now, technically, but you know, you will have those casinos, you have some tournaments, but this is why I'm excited about poker.
Yeah.
Because of this, like,
Yeah, Masan just said, 日本だとポーカーでかけるのは違法ですが、アミューズはすごい人気が出ていますよね。Or he's mentioning that place is like a non-monetary value, right? It's like a game arcade place. It's huge. Like I was in Japan like a couple months ago, and it just filled with people, like, and all kind of people, like young people, old people, men, women.
Are they treating it as an arcade game, basically? Is that how poker is treated now?
Yeah, so legally you can just go there. Let's say you pay like $20, 20 euro, 30 euro, and you buy a chip and you play, and you can some places you can deposit the chips for the next time. Some places you can't. But the tournament is interesting. So because we have like a massive, let's say WPT or something of the a foreign actual tournament coming into Japan and doing circuit, but also we have Japanese company and they're hosting their own tournament, and which is we have loophole, so which is you can actually buy in and get money, because they will sponsor, they'll give you money. This is your sponsor money. Yeah. So like there's a weird way. So I would say 70 to 80% of the Japanese poker players are tournament poker players, and they go to Vegas, they go to Korea, they go to Philippines, Australia, a lot of places they go and actually join their circuit. And also because of the YouTubers, some of my friend is actually doing YouTubing, going abroad, Vegas or Australia or Philippines, wherever. They do the the GoPro. They show the hands exactly like what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
and they do get quite a good exposure, and people wants to play poker now. So this is amazing time, as you said. Not only Japanese community, but I think entire poker community. Yeah. For the
Asia, obviously, Asia is the number one biggest region. By the way, you know what? We can talk about it. For a long time, I think the most winnings I had, they were on illegal Asian ups. You need to. It was called. Let's not mention the name, but basically, you needed to like find an agent. So I had a friend who knew someone in China who got us on the site, so we could play in there, and it had aunties, and it was absolutely wild action. And obviously, Poker World has long realized that Asia, obviously the number of people there, and the rising economics, is going to be really, really big. Yeah, so I know how big poker is there. Obviously, GG is number one in the world right now. So yeah, the poker boom is there. And I must say, it doesn't feel the same in Europe. In Europe, it's like, yeah, okay, we play this, we know what we're doing, the excitement is like standard kind of thing. But the boom that's actually happening in Asia, yeah, it's incomparable. So the excitement is mostly content in there, and obviously in Europe it's mostly the content that actually changes the excitement for it as well. But yeah, it's like the new thing, it really is content in Asia, I think.
Yeah, even like a poker itself, like we never really had any culture of playing poker, right? Like maybe like 3-5 years, like we just discovered poker. But Europe, North America, it's been ages, right? You guys playing for quite a long time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so it's already, and probably you guys already had a boom back in the moneymaker boom or online era, little bit.
Yeah, maybe. I think Tommy Angelo talked to you about. By the way, amazing interview with Tommy Angelo. I didn't want to swell, but you asked better questions than me. Yeah, he's. He spoke about there's this evolution. Japan is coming into this where the rest of the world, Europe and the US, they had like 7 different poker revolutions, with the whole cards, and then you had the rounders, the one movie. There's a movie, guys, in the US that was really popular. Check it out, Rounders, by the way. And basically all these things, So we had so many different booms. that, but in Japan, it's like unimaginable for us because suddenly you're getting this overwhelming media coverage and you're getting, so I think it might be completely different. I'm not surprised at the 1,000 views now, by the way, on the beginner's guide. Just obviously social media and the coverage has been developed for so many years for it to come for the first time in Japan properly. It's going to be magnitudes more than what the booms used to be in Europe and the USA.
Yeah, Masan, the new comment that it says, because in Japan, like if you join tournament, because it is already, the guarantee is already set. So sometimes the payout is 30% of all the entry. I remember when I went to Japan in January, I joined one of the biggest Japanese tournament. It was like more than 500 people were in a entry, and in the money was 21, I think. Oh, it's like what the hell is this? Yeah, but
I spoke to one of the organizers. I literally spoke to an organizer who made a tournament in Japan. I looked, by the way, it wasn't like a casino. It was like a sports hall, like a small town cultural hall where they had like tables. I was looking at what was going on here, and he was saying, yeah, well, it's good for the organizer where more players come up, because basically you have a guarantee, right? And so they make a lot of money if more players show up, But if they don't come up, they basically, just like with any other tournament, they have to go ahead and shell out the money for the prize pool. But it's obviously with the boom, I don't think they have that problem. So it's pretty good.
No, we're just having too many players now. Like it's hard to find a venue now because it's illegal, and you can't really expect how many people you can join, right? And some people like show up at the day 2, and like, there's not enough table. And for example, at the tournament I went, they just straight out canceled some of the event because they couldn't, provide a table. They couldn't provide dealers. Yeah.
They canceled the event? Like they didn't just let the people play that were there already?
No. So basically, the event that I wanted to play, and later on the day, they just canceled because the main event was so popular.
Oh, the main event had too many. Everyone was tied up in the first one. It's pretty cool. I think Masan has a question in the chat, right?
Yeah. So Václav さんは普段週に何時間くらいオンラインポーカーをやっていますか? So how many hours do you play per week online poker?
By the way, I can see the questions because today ChatGPT and Google Translate, they're absolutely amazing. I think it's gonna make it so much easier to translate. I translated the guide from German, and I don't speak German. So I literally translated the beginner's guide. Yeah, not a word. I know German. I translated it, so I understood it. Right. So Masan basically is if you play cash games professionally, I definitely recommend that you keep some sort of a track for this. And this was one of the reasons, by the way, why I never moved up properly, because in the last year, when I was playing full time, I only put in about 35 hours play and study. And that's obviously too small. I would play every day for 4 hours, right? Then I would study on top, then try to do something positive. So if you're maintaining, if you're good enough, I think that's roughly about what you need to put in. So basically imagine you have an office job. If you play cash games, imagine it's just like a normal office job, That's if you want to stay at the same level where you are, which was basically me, 35 hours, something like that. On the way I was going up, for example, when I started, I was playing 12 hours at NL2 at 8 tables or something like that. So if you decide, okay, Masan, that you want to actually move up, that you need to be better than the level that you are in, and you are not doing as well as you would want to, those 35 hours that you need just to maintain, they become 60 hours, right? Because you need to, it's basically, that's the thing. We pay rake, so it's a negative sum game because of the rake. We have to pay the casino. But basically, to progress, you have to do things better than your opponents, right? So it depends on your goals. If you want to stay at the limit where you are playing, about 35 hours per week are fine. I knew that if I actually wanted to move up from 100 to 400 and stuff like that, you would need to bump it up to 60 or even more hours, especially because the studying possibilities today and how much time you can actually spend studying, they are endless. So, but I spoke to so many students. If you don't want to play full time, if you want to play just part time, be a serious hobbyist, as people say, make some money. It's absolutely fine to have it a hobby, play for 20 hours, have a normal job, 15 hours as well. If you study effectively, I think it's absolutely fine. So yeah, it's up to you. What are your goals? How much time you have obviously spare, and then how efficient you are with study. So depends. For me, it was 35 hours when I was maintaining, and it was about 65 hours when I was trying to move up. Basically.
I see. Yeah. So we just got a comment. It is difficult to understand without subtitles. Yeah. So この後この録画バージョンに、字幕をつけてアップしますので、そちらもぜひお楽しみに。Yeah, I'll definitely put the subtitles later, but yeah. So the other questions I got previously that the online poker tells, like other than timing tells, is there anything like more nuance, anything poker tells?
Well, timing tells are really simple, right? I mean, I guess what pretty much timing tells are only one concept. And the concept is how long would it take my opponent to think with certain parts of their ranges or with the hand, right? Actually, funny thing, I've seen a video of online bots playing sit and goes, right? And I kid you not, when they had really strong hands, they were programmed to act really quickly. Oh. When they had really weak hands, they would act really quickly as well. And when they had the middling hands, the bot was programmed to take their time, right? And this is the number one concept that applies differently to all sorts of situations that you want to use as timing tells online. To give you an example, you open on the button, right? Someone free bets you and they c-bet the flop and you call. And the turn, they bet quickly to 2/3 pot size bet. Now, if you had a really strong hand or really weak hand, like the bot would do, you would either quickly call or quickly raise, most likely, unless you're thinking with the nuts, but most likely you wouldn't think. But if you have a bluff catcher, like for example, a weak top pair or a second pair, you would take a long time, right? Oh, do I call this turn bet, for example? And what happens at micro stakes where people try to understand the timing tells at NL25, let's say NL50, people try to figure out, okay, well, how long is he thinking? And they see it with the other opponent. What you can do, for example, is you can yourself purposefully take a long time with the nuts or with a top pair that you're calling on the river, and then you will see people just go crazy against you, So as I said, it's careful with good regulars. They are very much aware of this. But in general, guys, if someone thinks for a long time, it's usually some mediocre hand and they're not sure what to do with, something like a top pair, weak kicker, middle pair. And if they act really quickly, sometimes on the flop, for example, when they instantly check to you, some players, recreational players, especially after limping, calling you, if they instantly check, they just don't have anything, they will be folding. So there's the one timing tell concept that you basically need online, but obviously it will apply very differently. You can level people with it. Basically, think like the bot, and if they're thinking longer, they have a decision, think about what hands would be deciding, and if they don't think long, they probably just have a hand that's very straightforward to play.
Interesting. Like I always thought the bot would randomize their time, just to kind of balance it out. But I didn't know that you can actually, try. They are trying to exploit you, right? That's interesting.
Well, yeah, poker, it goes both ways, right? It goes both ways. So I think at high stakes, it doesn't really matter. And, when you look at the high stakes players, unless they're playing on stream where they're dicking around, all of them take exactly. It's very annoying to watch. All of them take like 20 seconds every single decision. They don't want to give anything out, and they don't think that the other opponents will be fooled easily. But online, if you play in Japan and you play these tournaments and you see someone try to get serious, they will probably think about what you're doing, So you can try to fool them with these timing tells, which is a really underrated thing, that many people don't know about. But you can obviously yourself pretend that, and I basically do it every time, and you would be surprised how much people actually do read into this. How much extra value you can actually get.
Yeah. Is there anything else like online specifically? Because live you can kind of watch their pulse or the breathing pattern, anything like that.
I mean, obviously, I think the guide mentions it. If someone posts, right, so basically in poker, in cash games, if you are impatient and you want to play right now, you can pay the blinds. and you will play right away. This is a number one tell that everyone knows about, basically, that only recreational players do this, because all the serious players, they have the patience to wait for the big blind. No, I don't want to play right now, don't want to play. So that's the number one. Second tell is if someone doesn't have 100 big blinds, right? If you are playing cash games online and someone doesn't have 100 big blinds, you can basically every time assume that they are not a serious player, because the top players, they will have the faith in themselves that they are good enough. They want to maximally exploit their opponents. They want basically the big stack to when the recreational player comes, that they will go ahead and go against them. Then you, so those are if someone posts, stack sizes. Then you have things like now controversial topic, but you mentioned in your interview with Sasha Eileen Sutton, nationalities. You know,
there you go.
in poker, you can obviously tell it's more probable that, for example, someone from Brazil will be crazy than someone who's French. Sorry, my French friends will suck unless you LP, you know. I've tried to teach my French poker. It didn't work. It just didn't work. Yeah, so which country they are from, you know. Obviously, if you have an Eastern European country and you see someone playing 100 NL, you know, or playing a high stakes tournament, and you compare it in Vegas, right? And he has an Eastern European accent, and you see someone from the US, you can probably tell, you know, that the guy from Eastern Europe is probably going to be more likely to be serious than someone from the US or Brazil and stuff like that. Besides that, people that are chatting, if someone has too much fun chatting, again, I try to use it myself. I try to look like a fish, you know. I try to have screen names. For example, for a long time on KK Poker, my screen name was Noob Cowboy 69. Basically, this. I was trying to look like, you know, this is cowboy hats, you know, cowboy in there, stuff like this, you know. Random number. This is what the recreational players use. So, but you see, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
You yourself maybe want to appear that way. Okay. Those are like little things, but you don't have to pay that much attention to them as you obviously have to the not buying to the full, and also posting out of turn. Yeah, those are the two biggest ones. But the ones is how far you want to go. It's up to you, and how much you want to trust them.
I see. And also, I think how many tables they're playing too, right? Like if they're one tabling, usually they're recreational. If they're 8 tabling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And
if someone plays Zoom and they have 4 entries, they're probably, they can be a nit, they can be a bad regular, but they will not be, you know. Or on GG Poker, the fast forward variant, if they play 4 tables, it's very unlikely they will be a recruit.
Yeah, and also if the players playing 8 or 10 or like many Zooms, and if they're regular, they're not strong regular. I do find that they are not capable of finding bluffs. They do bluff catches, they do straightforward, but they don't really go for it. That's what I find.
Yeah, have you seen? There was a GG Poker is the number 1 site, obviously, in the world, and there was a data mining that tried to battle it. I think this is one of the reasons why GG Poker is trying to cut the data mining, right? Because someone released the statistics. And the people that play the most, the regulars that play the most, almost none of them are winning.
Okay.
They're winning they make rake back, you know. They're like, I know 5% were actually making money before the rake back. So yeah, obviously if you play a ton of hands, you rely on rake back and you might not be the strongest regular. That's definitely true.
That was the 2+2 post, right?
It was on Twitter first and then on 2+2. Basically.
Yeah. So
2+2 used to be the biggest forum. Everything happened first, and now it's kind of sometimes the drama starts on Twitter and then goes to 2+2. Sometimes like vice versa. You know?
That was my one video that I got viral. I have 15,000 views on that specific topic. So the GG you can't win, and you know, people in Japan didn't know about it because GG is like such a huge, and they have a GG Japan too, and everybody thinks that GG, but the rake is so high. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be skewed though, because the people with the most volume, obviously, they will be taking all in rake back, and I think the people that, if you want to beat high rake, you need to increase your win rates, right?
Yeah,
that's the main thing. And the way, by the way, if you will be playing in Japan, you will be playing these tournaments. And if you go play online, the way how you can actually increase your win rate is after you master the beginner strategy and are moving up, is to actually start paying attention. Pay attention as much as you can. See what everyone is basically doing at the table, and react to them the best way possible. So obviously, on GG, the data mining, the most frequent players, they will not be doing that because they're the must tablers. They play a ton of tables. They make money from rakeback. But they're definitely, if you would go to like a 2,000, 3,000, I'm assuming. I can't see how it's possible that there would not be people actually making still those 5-6 big blinds per 100, But they will be playing less tables, obviously. They will never show up in the top volume charts because they are paying attention, they are focusing, they are exploiting people, and their win rate is bigger. And it's bigger because they play fewer tables.
Yeah, definitely. We got another question from Masan. I think you can translate, but I'm gonna read in Japanese. オンラインポーカーを10年プレイされていることで聞きたいことがあります。例えば日々オンラインポーカーをしていて、1、2週間成績が悪かったりした際に、プレイするのがうんざりしてしまうことはありますか？またどう解消していますか？ So basically when you hit the downswing, right? How do you get back on it?
This hit the downswing. You miss online poker every day. All right, if your results are bad. Right, so online poker itself, obviously, if you play for longer, in the first, you have it's like in a relationship, you start a relationship and, the first 3 months are so exciting, I can't wait to spend 16 hours and play NL2, make those sick $2 per hour, and show everyone my graphic goes up, and you can't sleep, there could be a girl waiting for you naked. You're like, oh, okay, no, I have this NL2 thing, Oh yeah, it is kind of like a relationship. So at first, I don't think you care. Well, obviously, if you hit the downswing, then you should stick to the rules. But so at first you do this, then second year you will hit some struggles, of course. And I think most long-term players, they have trouble with burnout. They have the downswings, and many quit, for example. But the answer is that poker is basically it's being treated like a sport more and more. Back in the day, you would basically just go ahead, grind as much as you can, and study as much as you can. But the way almost everyone deals with this is the modern things that athletes do, like meditate, Big thing for me has been journaling. I actually had like 8 years of journals that I summarized. I think I may have posted them on a dead forum on purpose so people don't see them, but I have them, So journaling, scheduling, scheduling is big. To know when you are playing, I think I took it actually too far because I literally, the night before, I would say how many hours I want to spend on cash games, on poker, and then schedule study time. Then I would schedule, for example, I'm going to the pool, I'm going to do this and this and this. I think I had like 60, 70 hours productive week if you add all these things together. But yeah, your routine, your approach to life is the way that the top players basically are doing. I wasn't that great at that. I had to spend so much effort doing these things. So the less it comes to you naturally, the less of a psychopath you are, the more emotions you basically have, the more the swings get to you, the more you have to put in work, like working on your mental game, listening to positive resources, having your schedule, exercising, eating really well. And one thing from the technical side, understanding variance and accepting that this is basically what happens. In poker, you just have to do it. You have to understand that the rules of the game are the reason why we make money in poker is that if you play someone worse than you, the best poker player can play the worst poker player in one hand. He has about, 60% chance of winning because you'll outplay him, he might bluff because you might bluff him. So you have to realize that this is the reality of poker. I know Elliot Rowe, for example, said, there's like meditation. I use it a lot. And he says your downswings are like a marketing expense. Yep. You're basically giving money to the poker economy so that it can keep going. The losing players can keep deceiving themselves that they are actually winners. They need to have that jolt of positivity. It is an entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Understanding the math and stuff like that.
The big things that he said that you are a casino, right? It's the player wins, player loses, but overall, in the long term, you're winning. So that's a big thing about Elliot is saying. And also, I think the part is the being in community. You surround yourself, either the virtual or even live. This is such a huge for me. Like I started the streaming, and I have quite a good friends and community in my X account too, and it's very supportive. When you're down, but you want to go for it because everybody else is going or everybody else is supporting you. So.
Yeah, actually, that's a big topic that I didn't mention when you are moving out, and I've been very fortunate in this. Is that basically I had this is why I realized that I'm not that good at poker because I'm not at the highest level, like all those friends. But yeah, if you socialize in poker and you try to talk to people, you try to be really positive, ask them questions, be interested in them, it's really gonna open doors. And obviously. Going ahead and dealing with downswings is one thing. You will get that support. You will see that other people go through it as well. One pitfall is though, don't just be around negative people, all right? Yeah. I think that one interesting thing is like the people that have made it, that made millions of dollars from poker that I know, one trait that they had in common was that when we were in these groups, you would almost never see them post any bad beats. They were like, I called this Jack high on the river, like Viktor Malinovsky, he's like top 2 player in the world. He would only post hands. Oh yeah, guys, what do you think? This 7-3 offsuit, all in bluff on the river, it worked out pretty well. People would criticize him and stuff like that. So yeah, community is important, but also there is a small caveat. Try to be around positive people that will lift you up. They don't say, poker is terrible and stuff like that. It will help you. First of all, it will help you in downswings. They will know what you're going through, like, okay, do this and stuff like that, go over hands with you. But also, they will help you with your strategy. You will get better together. You will get motivation. And I can't understate how big community is, Obviously, poker strategy is one. I have Discord groups. I had Skype groups. And poker is a lonely profession. If you are down there alone, and unless you are that psychopath I talked about that doesn't care, you do need that support group. And when it comes to dealing with this, you're absolutely right that, getting the community like you have here, very, very important.
Yeah. So meaning that definitely you don't go to Reddit poker thread, right? And that's not the community you want to belong. Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah. Usually it's like, I don't know, you go 2+2 poker strategy, of course, is a good one. Or in YouTube, say people, I'm not sure how it works with the influencers. I know that one author like Alex Duval makes these videos, like controversial ones, just, come join my Discord. It's like, why not? Just if anyone asks you, let's study hands together, just say, yeah, hell yeah. And one thing I want to mention, like throughout my career, poker is a lonely profession, guys. Like even the players, you think, this guy is so good, I can't even talk to him. It's not the case. You can just ask them questions, and like 90% of the time, they will just say, just do this. Thank you for reaching out, and stuff like this, And basically, I was playing LL25. I was studying with my peers that were the best players in the world. I was asking really, really good players questions. Message them on forum, and they will help you out. And it's not just, it's not just about the strategy, not just about downswings, not just about being better, but you just feel better as a person. You help out someone else to feel like they're socializing, you will socialize yourself, and you'll pull yourself up together. So yeah, I definitely recommend that.
Yeah. You already mentioned about Victor, but the on your what is that? Is that 2+2? And you mentioned that you were used to studying with Linus and Victor. Linus, what's his last name? Linus Loeligar? Is that Linus Loeligar?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I don't know. He was, by the way, when I was with him online, we knew him as Deeps, DEEPZ, That's how we knew him. And it was basically him and Victor in 2 different groups, I think. Or the same one they basically joined. Yeah, so basically, guys, he was like sweating me at NL16, and I was sweating him at NL25 Zoom. Same with Victor, NL50. I was giving advice to Victor, which is pretty funny. Oh, seriously, I was like, but why don't you like do this? I'm not advice. I'm more asking questions, Why don't you like do this? It's like, yeah, sure. Why not? And just started using that, Yeah, so it was just really a coincidence that basically the 2 long-term 2 top online players we were basically playing at LL25. And also, it's very demotivating for me, guys. Imagine you're 17, right? And in your team, there is Messi and Ronaldo, right? And you are on this exact same level. You have the same speed, same tests. You're doing exactly as well. You have the same starting line. And then imagine you rewind 10 years later, you are still in the third league playing with the young guys, and you watch them, being Messi and Ronaldo. So that's me, that's basically how it turned out. But I'm really definitely grateful for being with them,
Yeah. Did you notice anything like they're doing differently? Like questions, hands?
They're completely different. Like guys, if you wanna move up and you wanna go, you want to find two completely different players, you would pick Linus and you pick Victor. They ended at the same result, being the top online players, right? They went completely differently about it. So basically, Linus was this edgy kid. He was one of those, you find the Reddit kid, that tries to be edgy and argues with someone all the time. So he would be doing this, and he was playing actually NL25 for a very long time, like flat graph. At one point, I started sweating him, and he was playing NL50 Zoom, and I was like, what's going on here? He was completely fearless, 3-bet pot, 4-bet pot. He was mass tabling. Every hand he could play on Zoom, 4-table Zoom, just gaining crap ton of experience. This was right before the solvers came out. Then when they came out, I think he really went into them. Linus, play as many hands as you can with as many opponents as you can. Don't care who you play. Doesn't really matter. Just plow for your opposition. If you lose for 20,000 hands per week, you don't care. You're just gonna plow through it. As much experience as you can. Now Victor, he was the complete opposite. Victor was freaking insane, right? And I think in Japan, this approach will probably be better if you don't expect an online poker boom, if you expect to play the tournaments online, tournaments locally, and only small sites being in Japan. Basically, Victor is a retired handball player. He was injured, so he had this discipline. He would play sometimes even one to four tables for example, 12 hours in a row. And he was this absolute beast in just dissecting his opponent. He would stare at his opponents. He would know exactly what each player is doing. He would exploit them properly. And it was hilarious because he would come back to the group, his jag high call, on the river. And the guys that, GTO or exploitive, they were studying GTO. It was like their Bible. They would be telling me, oh, you're so terrible call. I know you win, but terrible call. You will never make it, All of them are gone from poker. Basically, they were telling this. He's one of the top players. So the story of these, just to say, guys, there are different paths that people learn, okay? What you need to do is find out if you are the Linus, you want to really jump in and play as many hands as you can, or you want to take the qualitative approach of Victor. I don't think either is right or wrong. It just depends on who you are, If you are edgy kid and just wants to go to battle, Linus' strategy is better. If you are maybe a little bit older, or if you think through things more, you have more patience, try to figure out every single opponent. Victor's approach is better. But when we talk to absolute beginners like NL2 and NL5, if you play NL2, NL5, NL10, I would actually recommend Victor's approach much more. Okay. Because first of all, you're learning your strategy and just watching every hand that your opponents play, seeing how they react to each other, how they react to you. First of all, your win rate will be much higher. I know Linus, even at NL50, like 3 big blinds per 100 at first before he started smashing. But Victor always, 10, 15 big blinds per 100, always dominating because he basically focused every single hand. So pick your poison, guys. See what your personality is like. But for complete beginners, I would just recommend full-on attention on very few tables. Understand the strategy. Understand how everyone does it. Try to think why they do it. Like Phil Galfond says, try to be a detective. Like your opponent is telling a story. Try to figure it out. Like be the detective Pikachu. Try to figure it out.
Yeah. Like even when you're not playing, right? Like you can kind of guess opponent's hands. And like, okay, maybe he has this, me have this. Yeah. Like every second matters. And you can skyrocket your win rate, right? Like how you approach. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have this problem live because, when you come to live poker and you record and you're there to make content and like some fun shorts, I'm thinking, oh, when do I press record? I should like make jokes with the guys, But online it's much easier. But guys, if you are playing in Japan, if you go to one of these tournaments, just sit down and try to give yourself the goal of trying to think about what hands they can have, What's the, because you'll be sitting there with 9 players, you have so much downtime. Try to think about what the other guys, what hands would he do this with, What actually makes sense that he is doing, what bet sizing did he use with what? And basically Victor's approach and my approach early on was to watch every single hand. When I'm not in the hand, I would basically watch it. And it's such a big advantage, obviously. And, they don't pay attention to you, but you pay attention to them. Even if you don't know anything about live poker tells, just thinking about the strategy, it will get you better and it will help you to play better against them. But mostly, as I said, Victor was doing this and he never plays against the opponents anymore because he's 100 stakes higher. But it helped him understand poker, and I don't think that 4-tabling Zoom will be a big thing in Japan with the regulation.
No, we can still play. Like, so .com, but maybe later, right? But we do have a lot of like 100 Zoom. Yeah, Zoom table. Like,
you do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we still do.
Oh, you still do. Yeah, so never mind, scratch that. Pick your poison, be Linus or be Victor. Yeah. Just pick right.
Yeah.
Pick the correct way.
Yeah, but like I think if you go to live, their level is so like some players just started, some players they've been playing for 5 years or so. So yeah, the paying attention is probably important too. Yeah. So
one thing I want to mention that not many people see this: when you play micro stakes, you're basically in school on how to exploit recreational players and weak opponents, right? So if you pay attention at micro stakes, and it's so easy to do, it brings you a massive, if you play at NL2 and you really pay attention, every single opponent will have massive errors in their strategy, right? So basically at micro stakes, at NL2, 5, 10, 25, you figure out how to play against these recreational players, how to exploit them. And the thing is, you will never get this opportunity again. After you move up, you will have one recreation. If you have a one bet player at the table,
yeah, that's it.
Good these days, right? But that's the thing. If you crushed all the way through NL50 and you know how to exploit them, then again you have, because recreational players, they play for millions or they play for $2. The patterns are kind of similar, Of course, the millionaires might be more aggressive, but the patterns are similar. So yeah, when you play at low stakes, you get to figure out how bad players play, and then you will have the experience for the rest of your life, basically.
We have a couple of questions. So Wataru-san, so if he's mentioning it when you say Victor, he thinks that it's Victor Blom, but no, Victor Marinovsky.
Oh,
right?
No.
Victor Marinovsky.
Victor Blom, by the way, Victor Blom is Isildur one. He was one of those talent players, He was completely reckless with his bankroll. When I actually started playing poker, taking it seriously, he was the guy destroying everyone on full tilt poker, Oh, yeah. But no, I'm talking about you rewind about 5 years later, and a player called Viktor Malinovsky, he's called Limitless online. He moved up, if you take the lowest stake, he moved up from NL5 to NL 1000 in under a year, I think, or something like that, Wow. It was absolutely incredible. Nobody wanted to believe it. And since then, he's been a top 2 along with Linus, basically, maybe True Teller. So definitely top 5 online poker cash game player online. And I know he does a lot more than that. He goes to private games where he plays with really, really high net worth individuals. So yeah, no, he's not as famous as Victor Blom. And one funny thing is, there are these rankings sometimes on 2+2, top 10 cash players of 2022 or something like that, And when he was really crushing on PokerStars, he was not in the first top 10. He was like in 11th or something like that. And again, he's not as famous as Victor Blom. He wasn't even in top 10. I asked him, oh man, so sorry, they snubbed you and you're not even in the top 10. And he was like, I am so glad I'm not, because when you are the top player, and you can see it, people that do coaching like me, that do a lot of content, they are not the top players, guys. I'm not the top player online, okay? When you see Linus and Victor and Trueteller, they post some posts out of charity, but these guys are literally making millions, millions of dollars. They have no reason to want to even be famous, Linus does interviews, he goes to tournament, but he's not face of any training site. He's not sponsored, Victor the same. He was part of a stable, but now he just does some interviews. He doesn't do much, So these guys are way less famous than Victor Blom, and for a good reason. They just make a magnitude times more money than Victor has, and they have stayed in the game for the long run. So I know it's kind of weird. We are on YouTube right now, and just it's obvious that but the top players, even in this content day and age, they are not necessarily the most famous one, nor they actually want to be.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you sit down at a table, would you like to be recognized as a pro or recreational, right? You want to be recognized as a fun guy, not the PokerStrategy.com coach, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the best players in the world, ideally, and it's been magnified a lot more, because in the last 5-10 years, private games have been really huge. Yeah. For example, guys, the games you see on Hustler Casino streams, if you go online on any game, they are not the biggest games in the world. They just are not, okay? They're relatively, the $1 million buy-in, they're nowhere near as close to what, especially in Asia, in Macau, right? Oh, yeah. They're nowhere near the size of that, because that's the thing. Imagine you are a billionaire, right? And you like to play poker. Playing for 1 million is kind of boring to you, right? You want to play for more. You want to play for 10 million, maybe, buy-in. So just so you get the gambling feeling. Do you really want to be, shown on TV that you're gambling for all this money? No, you don't. You basically have a private game. And to get into these private games, as Victor is doing, I'm not sure Linus is getting in there, but these really people making millions, Tom Dwan was there, for example. Yeah. You need to look like you're fun, and you don't have to take it too seriously, and you don't really necessarily want to be, the famous online grinder that sits behind a computer and is the end boss, Yeah. So no, if you want to make money in poker, I know it sucks for the ego. It's actually better if people think you suck, if you are a fun guy. This is how Dan Bilzerian probably made a lot of money from poker. Who knows how he got it initially. But, everyone saw him as a rich hedge fund kid, and they just invited him to play. And even though he was a above mediocre regular, he would just smash it because he got into really soft games. Yeah, I know with the social media, you want to be the best. You want to make as much money as you can, be an ambassador. But in an actual game, it's better if everyone thinks you suck, because they will not try as hard, and they will invite you to more games,
Yeah. That's the big nugget, right? Suppress your ego, be your fun guy, be the fun guy. Yeah. So going back to the question, I think it would be the related to going back to loneliness and everything. What's the pros and cons of being a professional poker player? Definitely con is a loneliness, it's a little dark side of, being alone. Right.
I think for me, what was like almost devastating was COVID, like I absolutely, at times I didn't take poker as my primary thing. I took it as a way to have a really cool lifestyle. For example, because of poker, I came back to my home country, right? I lived in the UK. I have 2 universities studied, right? I could get a really good job. But the thing is, I really couldn't get them in my home country. So I used poker as means to actually go back to my family, go follow this dream actually, and use the flexibility and go back for that, So the flexibility is great, but also the flexibility is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And what I mean by this, guys, when you are an online cash game player, online tournament player, you have, slightly less tournament player, but still, you have complete freedom about what you do. Your life can be as amazing or as crappy as you basically make it. So in my peak, when I was really doing well, for example, I would wake up at 5 a.m. I was playing on American sites, wake up 5 a.m., go for a run, read something positive, do scribing. I would have 1 day per week when I would just work out, go to the sauna, go to the pool, think about hands, think about the week before, try to socialize as well. Obviously, so many poker players I see that play online, they get depressed. They say, "Oh, I have no friends." I have no way how to actually make friends. I'm sitting home and I'm kind of depressed, just playing. I'm grinding, of course. I'm away from the honeymoon phase where you just grind and you're excited. The way you basically go around it is you have to give your life some sort of a structure. If you are only playing online, that's all you do. Things like volunteering, going to meetup.com. I'm sure in Japan you have a bunch of these sites where you can play random board games with people, get away from poker. So the poker lifestyle is as good or bad as you make it, and it's only up to you, So the poker lifestyle gives you freedom, but the number one thing is you have to know what to do with it. And I know many poker players simply don't, and they burn out and they have trouble with that. Yeah. And COVID was, I think, for many poker players, COVID is that they came back. For others like me, it was terrible because suddenly all the outlets I had, with like mental game, like friends and working out at gyms, it suddenly was gone, But luckily, that's gone now, so you do have that freedom.
Yeah. So that's the dark side of the poker, I think, because if you watch at the YouTube, they only shows like a glamorous part, right? You fly out somewhere, play poker, makes millions of hands. Sorry, not millions of money, and it's fun lifestyle. They only shows that, but the reality is, it's
I think, again, I'm completely new to YouTube. I was in my comfort zone, just doing podcasts on poker strategy, but I'm completely new to this, and I'm studying the algorithms. And actually, there's this new trend that gets really a lot of views, and it's basically similar to behavioral economics and behavioral psychology. That losses hurt you more than gains give you pleasure, right? And it actually translates to human nature. On some level, people want to see others get hurt, So look on YouTube, guys. Look at Rampage. Look at Daniel Negreanu. Compare their numbers. Actually, some of the most successful videos they had is I'm on a $1 million downswing. Or Daniel Negreanu, I lost over $1 million last year. It's so painful, If you look at, by the way, there are slots. There's an old guy that plays slots, gets millions and millions of views. One thing that people love, he's the number one slots player in the world. The reason why he's the number one, he shows all his losses. He shows how he lost, I think, $300,000 on stream. And why I think this is really cool, and you guys should give these guys credit, but I think like it's not even genuine anymore. It's like being miserable is almost like gaining you traction. That people, by the way, with this slots guy, people are telling him, "Oh my God, thank you so much." Like they are thanking him, and it's actually gamblers that don't gamble; they just watch him play, go through the losses and wins, and they basically live through him. So I must say I love this trend. I know back if you looked a couple of years ago, only all the people, I won this amazing tournament. I keep smashing. Poker life is glamorous. But I think authenticity after the first wave is coming into social media, and people actually are starting to show the losses, are starting to show the rough times. And for me, I think for us as someone who is a creator, it's really encouraging. And sometimes it's really hard to say, okay, I actually suck, I think I failed compared to Victor and Linus, But luckily, I think nowadays, the negative side of gambling, poker, and all these games, I think it's coming to the surface, and it's definitely a good trend, I think.
Yeah,
overall.
I think because it's genuine, right? Like you feel their pain, and that's raw emotion that kind of gets you. Yeah.
It's genuine, and also it feels good to see. For many people, it's good to see others be in pain. I don't know why. It's just natural. But yeah, the genuine part obviously is a big thing, and it's a recent trend only. But I'm really glad for that it is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to back to YouTube and the recent creation of your channel and everything. But before that, I would like to touch on your childhood, like how what kind of child you are. How did you discover poker? How did you marry poker? And how did you fall in love in poker? Everything.
Okay, so guys, I'm from the Czech Republic. Okay, I was dating a girl from Guangzhou when I was in Scotland, and when she told her mother, "Oh, I'm dating a guy from Czech Republic," and her mother looked at her like, "Oh no, an African." Yeah, so. Czech Republic is in Europe. We're a very, very small country. So basically, I was brought up here and I played this very local sport. I'm a goalkeeper in this very local sport. So that was basically all my life. And I got injured and I decided to give Scotland a shot. So I went to Scotland, and throughout all this time, I was playing a game from Blizzard called StarCraft Brood War. I'm not sure if you know it. It hasn't been as big in Japan. It's been absolutely massive in Korea. So I would spend I was 16, I would be playing for 8 hours, and I would chat strategy, I would try to read forum guides, watch streams from Korea with StarCraft Brood War. And basically what happened was, I was in Scotland at this time, a lot of poker players a lot of StarCraft players, including the top ones, for example, Elki, Guillaume probably don't know, but Elki is the most famous one. Or Rassi, by the way, if you know Rassi, what's his name? Lex Veldhuis, number one streamer in tournaments. Lex Veldhuis, they were playing StarCraft, and suddenly we saw them in Korea. They were in Asia. They suddenly stopped playing the game. We're like, "What? Are you crazy? You're making tens of dollars playing this game for at least 8 hours per day," and they just disappeared. And they actually went into StarCraft. And they founded a site called Liquid Poker. It was Team Liquid. They still operate. If you guys know esports, you will know Team Liquid. So basically, all these Team Liquid people, they started going into poker. And I was obviously, when I saw that, I was like, "This is stupid. Why would anyone go from this glamorous StarCraft Brood War game be so good?" I was like mid-tier. Why would he go to poker? But then, I moved to Scotland. I realized that when you are on your own and you're 18, you actually have to pay your bills, many people don't realize, things actually cost money. Actually realized that playing poker is probably better because it actually pays your bills, So I jumped in, I think I got $50 from CD poker. Maybe I lost that. Then I jumped into poker strategy, got $50. Basically from then went up. The thing is, I finished 2 schools and I had a couple jobs. And every time I quit poker, just withdrew everything. And I think I regrinded from $50 about 3 or 4 times in when I was starting out, So yeah, from $50 I went up, and I think this is one of the reasons why I love the beginner strategy, because I know I've done this multiple times. When I quit poker, did something else, I came back. So yeah, that's what I did. Played, and as I said, would go to high stakes coach, and that was basically it, And now we are here, trying to get into the content side.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, well, I do know StarCraft. I know what's the right clicking, just like crazy times, right? Yeah.
Crazy APM, and there's StarCraft 2, not so much, but StarCraft 1, you basically had to practice for 8 hours per day minimum if you wanted to be a pro. Yeah. You needed to read up strategies, watch replays, and I think so many StarCraft players, so many individual pro gamers, right? So you see a lot of people from that, Magic the Gathering, card games as well. They just jump into poker, and it's just because it's so natural. You are used to that process. Sports people as well, used to the process. You just jump over and start playing poker. But we actually talked about this. I did an interview with one guy. I don't think the new generation that play Dota and these team games, it probably won't translate to poker as well as if you play something individual,
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty interesting. I really wonder if there are games now where when the kids grow up, if they will jump into poker. What do you think? Is there any modern game that's popular that might actually do this?
So, well, I don't think it's going to translate, but I do think the Fortnite Battle Royale style is exactly the same as a poker tournament.
Right.
So,
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So there's a luck involvement and what kind of loot or what kind of weapon do you get, right? And you kind of wait for the spot to all the two guys are fighting each other. You wait for it and you just jump on it. So maybe those Fortnite kids might be good at being patient or something like, environment situational. But
exactly, we should buy some ads. You should buy YouTube apps on Japanese Fortnite videos. Just you can select where you get the advertisements on YouTube, and you should plaster them all over Fortnite videos to get of course 18 plus, but you will get the 18 plus kids coming to poker, and coming to your channel when they actually go ahead and outgrow the Fortnite scene, maybe.
Yeah, like knockout, like PKOs. Like I think that those things added little extra. You kind of taking out the opponent, but as you said, maybe like chess players, right? Like nowadays, a lot of chess players moving into poker.
There's GG Poker signed Alexandra Botes. She's not a grandmaster, but I think she's an international. She might be a master. Yeah, she signed. They signed her, and I looked at the chess community. One thing though, I wonder do we actually want the chess players in poker, because they just might come in and with their analytical brain, they might just like start destroying us. Are we sure it's a good idea to get chess poker players in, or are we just gonna make everything harder? I'm not sure.
But maybe it will break through the stigma, right? Like, and if the chess player is playing poker, maybe it's not gambling, maybe it's an actual mind game, skill game. So I think it's something that looks like it's going to hurt our community, but let's see. We've got a lot of comments. Yes, StarCraft. Yeah, so like a games. It's the what do you say? RTA, right? Like a real time RTS.
StarCraft is a real time strategy, right? You basically control your units. That's not important. The point is, it's you against another opponent in a strategical game where you control the battlefield, right? You have to outthink your opponent, and in StarCraft you also have to through like technical APM. This is why so many StarCraft players like Elke, they play like 24 tables. Joe Ingram, by the way, came from StarCraft as well, if you know him. So yeah, he was from the same site as me. So all these players came from there. So it's a strategic game. You can Google it. There's a bunch of streams. I think Korea still has professional leagues in the original StarCraft. There's StarCraft 2 now. But basically, it's a strategic, real-time strategy game where you can compete against your opponents. It's one-on-one, and you need to outsmart them and outplay them, basically. This is why it has nothing to do with poker, but a lot of StarCraft players move to poker because the skill set is very similar and the process by which you learn.
Yeah. And sitting in the chair for like 8 hours straight, right? Just like watching the display. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's translated to the online poker. But I was so surprised, okay? I was so surprised that after all of the years with Poker Strategy, doing a live stream, but you started jumping to the YouTube content creation, those videos, pretty recent, like really recent. I was so surprised. Like, what made you to like switch over to the content creation?
Right. So basically, guys, this is the thing. I already started talking about it. The top players online. Daniel Negreanu is not the best poker player. He's nowhere near being the top poker player. He's a great influencer, right? All the guys that you see on TV, so they're great ambassadors. But no, he doesn't study the game. If you jump online into cash games, you will get absolutely obliterated. High stakes tournaments live. I mean, he's doing okay in live tournaments, okay. But if he jumped into cash games, obviously, it would be really, really tough for him. The thing is, basically, up until about a year and a half ago, my main goal was just poker. Move up as much as I can, right, and basically try to make it. And this is the thing. I was making videos on YouTube. I always coach micro stakes. 2 reasons. First of all, I don't have to hold anything back. Always like my coach back in the day when Pio Solver started, he would give me like $1,000 he paid for ranges. And like I showed it in coachings on Poker Strategy because we advertised them for NL5 players, So I was like, hopefully none of the recs are watching, because back then these ranges were really expensive. So that's what I was doing. But the thing is, I always knew I would probably be good at that, probably better at poker. But the thing is, when you are trying to move up, right? Think about it. would you rather, and you have access to great coaches, great players, great software, how do you spend your time? Would you spend your time if you have a player that someone else would pay $500 or $1,000 for an hour of his coaching? He's your friend. You have access to him for free, you know? Would you spend time doing that, or would you spend time grinding on YouTube, you know, thinking about the ideas, editing and stuff like that? So for me, when the primary goal was be as good at 6max cash games online as possible, when that was my primary thing, I knew that I would be good on YouTube, but it's simply, you know, there's only so much attention span you have, especially for me, as you can see, you know, my attention span isn't like Daryl Kearney who does ultra marathons, more of a sprint guy. Yeah. It was obviously choosing what I do, and YouTube and social media to actually make good money and to get big traction. It takes a long time, and I knew it would be a grind, you know. And I realized that, you know, I will not be good enough at cash games. I will never catch up to Victor, you know. I had plenty of time to do it, but I will probably not make millions from that. So comparatively, I basically said, listen, I'm going to focus on this a little bit more. I'm going to play poker a little bit less. And that's inevitable, you know. I think it's impossible to make a lot of content and be the best you can be at poker. It's close to impossible, if not completely impossible.
Yeah. So that's how you jumped on, and I think you're on the right path. Like, I love your content, like, really. But
listen, guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to tell you something. I purposefully, when I will go a year from now, 2 years from now, and I will look back at my videos, that you can go to my channel, look at my videos. I will think they are the worst, the cringiest things I have ever seen in my life. Like, how did I make these? The thing is, I actually do this purposefully. See, the problem, Shimpe, you have 1.5 thousand subscribers, right? Like, people that are watching you, Vatoru, Masan, all these guys that are watching the videos, they know you, they expect a certain thing and a certain standard of quality, right? You have your style, now you started the live podcast, you have your videos, and people expect that. I have a massive advantage. I have my platform on pokerstrategy.com, where all these students, I get thousands of views from the students that actually want to actively learn. But on YouTube, I'm actually throwing absolutely random stuff on. And the reason is, I don't have my base built up yet. So people don't mind if someone tells me, oh, this is terrible. I'm like, yeah, sure it is. But I have like 15% of subscribers. I need to 1,000. So I don't really care, right? I know that, you know, a year from now, no one's going to remember these videos. I'm literally experimenting, throwing everything in to find my own style, to try to not copy other players, to basically throw so much random mud on the wall and see what sticks. Because this is the thing. When it comes to YouTube, and I really researched this in detail, when you get really big, even for example, Ben CB, right? At a certain point, it stops being a sustainable level where you can do it yourself, right? Suddenly you start to hire an editor, right? Okay, I have an editor, but now I want to travel more. And I have 5 social media posts. Okay, I'm going to hire a social media person, right? Well, I don't know like what I'm doing. What's my schedule? I'm going to get a personal assistant. And suddenly you get like all these people, and the big YouTubers, all of them are basically running a company, you know. It seems a lot of fun in the content side, but universally, a lot of YouTubers are actually quitting. They quit their frequency, they're quitting the videos, and the reason is they don't want to do this like managerial position job they have to do, you know. So I read all those stories, and if you are guys trying to make poker content, right, don't just copy the top players. I experiment with this. I steal things from Wolfgang, you know. I see what Brett Owen does. I do it like in a terrible way, glitchy, see what gets views, what doesn't. But I would definitely recommend, if you are playing poker and you are not trying to be a crusher, if you just do it mostly for fun, you want viewers like we have, you know, I would definitely recommend it, you know, until you build like 10,000 plus 100,000 subscribers. You can literally experiment, you know, it's not going to harm you. it doesn't really matter if you get 1,000 views or 10,000 views. It's not really a big deal. You're not making big money out of it. Because like just trying this out, you will basically figure out your style, and that's basically my goal. Maybe it's not going to work out, but I really think it is, because when you just keep going, keep trying, keep studying. By the way, I keep studying what the top creators are doing. So that answers your question. So if you guys go to my YouTube, it's never going to be this crazy, okay? As I start things out, now is the funnest time. I'm having an absolute blast. I have zero expectations from it. All right. When you go to Poker Strategy, there is like some quality control. Right? On Poker Strategy, obviously, when I'm going to do the beginner's guide, I'm going to pre-record my hands. I'm going to rehearse. I'm going to figure out the format. So if you want serious content, and the basically Poker Strategy does pay the freelancers, you have to go on there. But on YouTube, absolutely crazy stuff. I have a stupid idea that bombs that get 20 views. I freaking posted a short of my cat, So if you want the fun, if you want my fun side, go to YouTube. If you want more serious stuff, pokerstrategy.com in videos. Basically, that's where you have to go to see how the serious side of me that I know most people knew the whole time. Basically, now I have to go to.
But here's the thing. So even the serious side on pokerstrategy.com videos, I could see you. There's some kind of madness. So when I went to YouTube, like, this is it. This is it. Like,
this is what you would expect, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like you said, that you're studying the top creators. Even before I started using YouTube, and I was sitting here like 5-6 hours just in pen and paper, like what kind of video should I make? And Mr. Beast said, just start dirty. Just start. Like, just make it because no one's gonna watch it. Just do it. So, and that's how I started. And I think my first 3 videos, because of my live stream was a little glitchy, so I deleted it. But still, like, it was a good try and error. And just find your style, and don't get discouraged of low views or some. I don't get so much harsh comment, but like some people's gonna say like, oh, this is terrible, whatever. But like, who cares? You're having fun, right? You're having fun. Yeah. So
I got dislike. I got 40% dislikes on some videos. That's the thing. Like the funny, like the shorts format, right? Now obviously back in the that's the thing for me before shorts, because again in poker when I'm a professional, I had to spend so much time on scheduling because I struggle with focus. But suddenly the shorts are the complete opposite. You're not supposed to focus. The shorts, they basically target your base emotional level. You're not supposed to think that. They just, the most popular shorts are, oh, this is relatable, or oh, this is really funny somewhere. People don't know why. There's like a girl doing something with her eyes, hundreds of millions of views. The shorts like completely brought out my madness. And the thing about the format of it being 5 seconds to a minute, it actually works. And what's really sad, like these dumb short videos that you can see online, sometimes I spend like 4 hours on a 15-second videos, right? Yeah. Seems like a lot of time. But when you do an interview like this, right? I interviewed like some really big players. The preparation, the research, if you know nothing about them, I had to dig. When I do research, I literally dig through Facebook and everything. Yeah. One of the guys, Uri, do you know Uri Pelek? He's from Poker. Oh yeah, I had him on, and I think he's the only person, because he's more of an introvert, right?
Yes.
I think he's the only person that was surprised how much I knew about him. It was like, oh yeah, so you lived in, you were born in this town and you played for this team. He was like, everyone is like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I could feel like that Uri was like, oh, how did you know that?
Did you know?
Ooh, So these shorts, I think it's incredible. Like seriously, guys, if you play poker anywhere, I'm not sure if you want to show it in Japan, but I don't think it's a big. I don't think it's a big issue. No. Just record yourself playing, record your face, and post it in shorts. You can have 0 subscribers. I literally, when I had 50 subscribers, I would post a short, 10,000 views, right? Yeah. Like 200 likes. It's really a new thing. So if anyone is playing poker, there's so much like hunger for it. I think if you guys play poker in Japan and you play in the arcades and you bring your phone, you just need to buy one of the like Chinese sites you can buy for $2 phone stand. You would record the hands, right? I guarantee you will get at least 1,000 views. if you post it on Shorts, because I think Japan wants to see how other Japanese people play poker, but the world would also like to see what are the differences. You can actually put Japanese in there with English subtitles. Yeah, if you are guys watching this, you play it again. It costs nothing. Just start a YouTube channel, phone on a stand, record, and throw in some memes, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's a good way to give you accountability, consistency, because I always had a volume issue. I play a little bit and I stopped playing, but now I have a weekly schedule. I need to put the content, so I'm actually putting in study and playing too. So yeah, that's something that I'm doing that for myself.
See, I am small. Like I don't have enough subscribers. Luckily, I don't have to have a weekly schedule, right? Because if a video takes a long time, so be it. It takes a long time because I don't care about growth. Because the way YouTube works. If your video is like really good, it's got good retention rates, people click on the thumbnail. It doesn't really matter if you have a lot of subscribers, right? Like people will start recommending it. Yeah. Like sometimes a good thumbnail and name. I put a crap video I was just doing like for fun, right? But it had like Phil Ivey and stuff. It's like my second viewed video, and I think it was complete crap, And it just worked for the algorithm, so. Yeah, I'm luckily in a phase where I don't really have to care about schedule, but obviously in the long run, I think once you get above 1.5K, it's obviously better to have it. Yeah, but if you guys are watching this, you don't need any of that. Just post videos, have fun with it, and enjoy it. See if someone watches. Yeah. I know for sure we will, if we get across it.
Yeah. Wataru-san wants to know like madness, like he's like really into madness, and I wanted to touch on your weight loss project, right? And zombie app and no fapping. Yeah, that's probably the summarize your current madness that you're facing. But so what's your weight loss project is going now?
Right. So before I did this interview, guys, I there's an app called Zombies Run, right? So I've done this 2012. Basically, it's a story. You put it in your ears, and they tell you a story. Your helicopter gets shot down in a zombie apocalypse. You get into a training camp. And basically, it's like you listening to a TV show, but you are actually running it. So they do it. Oh, we're gonna do some running drills, and oh my God, the zombies are coming! Run! You gotta. And then if you don't run fast enough, they will catch up to you. Oh. And you like. They caught me, and you will see how many times they catch you, and you're like, wah! You have like cringe characters and stuff like that. And obviously you can have music. So today I'm on like a third day. They tell you to start jogging, heel lifts. I was listening to your interview with Sasha Eileen Sutton while going uphill, going to a cold pond that I took a dip into, and so it's going like this. And I think I lost, I don't know, like 4 kilos maybe since then, but it's really easy in the summer. The thing is, I basically gained a lot of weight because for the first time in my life, I went to the live poker circuit. Yeah. And it's guys, like obviously in Japan, this is the main thing that you have. If you are not from a major city that has these, or if you want to put in significant volume live, you will have to travel for these tournaments, right? You will have to find accommodation. So I found myself an online poker player. I play every single day. I would have these boxes every single day. I play at least 4 hours, and I do this and this. 1 day per week, I have a break. Suddenly, you like travel for 15 hours to Vegas. You stay in a big hotel. Healthy food is really far away. You have like a voucher for a buffet. It's like an $80 buffet with freaking huge crab legs and stuff like that. Your sleep's out of whack. You don't have your regular routine. There's no places sometimes to exercise, right? You have to do steps in the hotel. You travel like this. So for me, it was like a huge shock, like, oh my God, what's going on? My routine was completely out of whack. And if you guys actually want to take this seriously in the Japanese live circuit, obviously you will have to find the niche tournaments. I'm guessing they can't advertise in a big way too much. I'm learning the lesson the hard way. It's not as easy as they make it seem on YouTube. Oh, I just traveled there, and I am here. No, and I just play, and it's all exciting. You don't get any sleep. You're jet lagged, and even if you travel by train for 3 or 4 hours, it still takes a big toll on you, Then it was very, very easy to like forget about healthy living, all this scheduling, not writing the boxes because you have no idea what it actually takes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know Jonathan Little does crazy things. Like he brings a smoothie maker with him to tournaments. Just so he has like healthy things going on. You have to plan ahead with your schedules. So that's my approach. I am actually losing weight, trying to figure it out. But yeah, how I do it, again, don't be strong, have fun. I think it's all more about the mindset. Just like in poker, if you're struggling in poker, if you're struggling what to do, ask yourself. And I would do this. For example, in poker, I used to stalk the top players. I would open all their tables. I would data mine their hands, study everything they did. And then when I wasn't sure what to do, what would a really good poker player do in this situation? And it's the same thing like when you're trying to lose weight, and you're in a supermarket. What would a fit person, if I see myself as a fit person, what would I buy now? Would I buy the ice cream, or would I buy a healthy option? You can basically apply that to everything. And yeah, this is my approach. I know I've done this again. I always go up and down. Like I regrinded for poker. I lost the weight a bunch of times. I know it's gonna go the same way, but yeah, that's basically what 4 kilos down.
Yeah, definitely changing your self-image, right? So changing your self-image, living the lifestyle is important. Like I was a skinny kid, like, back in the day, maybe early 20s, I was like 60, maybe barely 60 kilograms. And when I really tried to put my weight, trying to work out, when I was eating dinner, I was watching a movie called Magic Mike. Do you know Magic Mike?
Oh, yeah.
Male strippers,
More for the ladies, though. It's more for the ladies.
It is. It is. So I was watching that every time. I look like, little rainbow community, but, then see myself with that body and try to change my self-image, not like, stick. Shinpei is not stick. Shinpei is a sexy, muscular guy. And ever since I started working out, I currently 75 kilograms. And yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. I absolutely agree with that,
Yeah.
Just see yourself. When it comes to poker, especially poker, because poker really punishes you if you don't have self-awareness. And it's something I struggled with. You need to find the balance between, seeing yourself as really good, but also having the self-awareness and humility. Can this be perfected? No, obviously. Like they're exclusive, right? Like seeing yourself critically and seeing yourself as great, so it's always about the balance. But when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to working out, you can just go all out, Just imagine, when you're in the mirror, imagine yourself as someone that's really, really buff. I think I apologize to my gym friends. When I was doing this, I was watching a comedy fitness channel called Pro Science Life. Okay. If you guys don't know about this, go for it. It's basically a guy, he's over the top, making like funny noises. So that's what I was doing, just yelling loudly, imagining I'm basically just like him. But yeah, when it comes to fitness and weight loss, it's very simple to just imagine yourself, ask yourself what would like really good players do. In poker, this approach, it can be a double-edged sword because I think as Dara Kearney told, I learned from your interviews now, that's like my school. As he told you, the mediocres, above mediocre players, they're very confident in everything they do, They're like, oh, you should do this, and I'm the greatest. But the really top players, they do have that introspection. It's like, oh, I don't know, it depends, and I'm not exactly sure, maybe I can improve my line in this scenario. So yeah, weight loss is nice and straightforward. In poker, sometimes you do have to watch for, seeing yourself as someone great, but also having that self-criticism and realizing it and actually agreeing and facing where you are at in the moment.
Yes. And also how to love yourself too. If you're like criticizing yourself and hard on yourself, again, poker is really hard. You have to love yourself, but hate yourself and get well balanced too. So,
well, this is what I mean. Why the top players they just kept posting hands they won, because they realized that they lose obviously a lot, but you could tell. Just find it in your study groups, in YouTube comments. If someone is replying really positively and say, "Oh yeah, you did really well," or "I'm doing really well," the chances are they actually will be doing much better. Like from my experience, maybe, so, if you believe in it's like manifesting, the Jack Canfield kind of woo-woo kind of stuff, they say that you change the reality. But yeah, that's the thing. If you actually believe in something, you're more likely to act in the line that a person that would actually do it, But yeah, in poker, you will always go back and forth. Everyone has been humbled by big downswings, right? Long stretches, maybe your opponents got better, you didn't realize, right? So this will always happen, and there's always, I think you have to always look for that balance of when you're really down, look for the confidence in you, and when you're really up, not have the winner's tilt, and just try to be more realistic, see if it's up to variance or if you're actually really good, and never actually keep studying,
Exactly. And interesting thing that you're all of those years of your poker life, and you start changing, right? Like you started reaching out to political side. You're doing volunteer, outside. So what is your personal life currently? Like 2024, you go to live circuit, sure. Like you play poker, online coaching, everything. But like, what's your overall personal life?
All right. So basically, what happened was like last year. A year and a half ago, right? Basically, my coach stopped playing about the year before, and my win rate dropped. I always had like 6 to 8 big blinds per 100 win rate for 10 years in a row, right? Very few losing months. But then suddenly, like, it started dropping, right? It was at 3 big blinds, and it was around the time where people, even at I was playing L100 mostly, right? It was around the time where people started adopting the pre-flop ranges, right? So basically, I was really good exploitively, but the fundamentals, I had still, like, I wasn't free betting in the big blind enough, I wasn't check raising enough, but it was always enough, right? The thing is, I didn't realize that slowly or surely, the opponents like started to get better. And I had an absolutely brutal coaching with like crushers modern that make $100,000 plus, my friends, right? They were like, you are so weak tight, what are you doing? And you have to, so I realized at that point that, okay, once again, I will have to go down. Like when I went from micro stakes on 100, I will have to buckle down and change my game, and I needed to clear my head. So what I did was, there was presidential election here. And what I literally did, I would try to get signatures on the street from people for petition for a presidential candidate, right? And it absolutely spiraled from there. I made a bunch of money. I was drinking with actual senators. Okay. I met our current president. I literally spoke to him. I shook his hand. Right? So, because it's such a small country, I don't think in Japan it's possible. I very much doubt. Yeah. In a bigger country, I don't think you can just go ahead to a presidential candidate, go for a beer and chat with him, right? Is that? Yeah, no. So we have 10 million people. It's a smaller country. Basically, I'm here like I didn't even know who the freaking government was, right? I knew zero of these people because I'm a poker player, online poker player. I was in Czech Republic, but all my life has been studying ranges and talking to people online, maybe chasing girls, right? I had zero idea. So suddenly I'm here in politics, like figuring it out, studying it. So yeah, there's been a part of it. And now basically what I do poker when I need to make some money or I want to talk to people. I do basically research. I would just talk to people and ask them about like topics like, oh, what do you think about the death penalty? Or what do you think? I think online poker is a question as well. Scratch of tickets, So yeah, you literally go to people and talk to them about these things, and you like figure out what they actually do. And it's pretty funny. It's pretty good practice for interviews like this one. Yeah. You interview people, Yeah. Lately, poker players that play only online, they talk to me and they told me that their life is really lonely. And yeah, I recommended this, in whatever country you live in, there will be, for example, it doesn't matter. As a poker player, you will know nothing about politics, obviously, right? But the thing is, the people that do know something about politics, they are so passionate, they care about their country. They want to make it a better place, and just like hanging around with them. And they usually, obviously, they're starved people. They will accept anyone they can. It's obviously a good idea if you are looking for this. Just do some volunteering. Find literally like even small jobs like these. Or some companies actually pay you if you respond to their questionnaires. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, this is something you can do as poker players. This is what I've been doing. But now, obviously, I feel like I did clear my head. You can see that I regained my passion for poker, so I will probably tune that down a little bit. I know it's still here, and I'm really glad that after over 10 years, I started actually caring about my country and actual normal people, Because let's face it, as poker players, we're not exactly the most socially active or productive people,
Yeah, I see. Yeah, rediscovering a love for both poker and your country. So it was like, nice, one stone, two birds. And you said you're gaining love for the poker. So like 2024, you're planning to go more live circuit, doing more content creation. Is that your 2024 plans?
Yeah, it's crazy because like in 7 days, I'm playing 4 Vegas. It's like a sit and go with 18 players. You can see my YouTube channel, a crazy short. I literally, it's March, guys. In March in Czech Republic, it's very cold, right? The water's nearly freezing. Yeah. And basically, I jump backwards into the water just so I can have like a promo shoot where I'm jumping from. It looks like I'm Goku. Is jumping from it. Check my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that. I saw you jumping into after the zombie run and with the naked, woo, but I didn't think that I saw.
Yeah, no, I did this one. Yeah, okay. I did this one. Well, that's the thing. For me, this is complete chaos. As I said, I'm in this amazing stage where I don't have a big following, right? Obviously, I don't just do like YouTube. For example, when I went for a poker site, their event in Bratislava, I was just doing like interviews for my YouTube, right? So I was like, who are you? What are you? What player are you? And stuff like that. And like the organizers were like, oh, you're really good. Do you want to come and like moderate this raffle? So I was like, yeah, why not? Sure, I'm used to this. I talk to people on the street. What's some poker players, right? So I was like yelling on the freaking room and saying, oh, okay, who's got number 25? You're winning this. Come on down, So doing this, but yeah, for me, strategically, in terms of strategy, I am trying to understand tournaments a little bit more. Obviously, what you guys are doing in Japan. So I had some coachings from Barry Carter already. My approach is basically Dara O'Kearney. He's got a bunch of books. You interviewed him. I really can relate to him because I'm an older person and he's like 60 years old, you know? Yeah. So it's insane because he actually uses the most modern software, node locking and stuff like that in his books. My goal is obviously content creation and trying to not suck at tournaments as much because it's really different. In cash games, the skill set, and for the longest time, I was guilty of this as well. We were saying, oh, these tournaments players, they just suck, they're not good. Because they're not good at deep play. The thing is, the difference, guys, the difference in skill set is basically this. Especially now in the solver era, if you are playing cash games, it's all about studying as deep and as detailed down the tree as much as you can, right? So even when you are pre-flop, you should have a plan for flop turn and the river, right? Because the situation is always the same. The conditions are the same. You should go as far as possible, understand the spots, try to see who you can exploit. Tournaments are completely different. Tournaments are way more like the strategy, even of the top players. I had an interview with Ben CB. And when I speak to him, it's like, is he playing like, 25? It sounds like the thought process is that way. It literally seems like a micro stakes player thought process in cash games. And the reason is you don't have to understand situations in depth from flop, turn, and river. All you have to do is adapt to the ever-changing situations that you are here, right? So if you guys play the tournaments in Japan, you go there, you will start with a certain stack size, right? The strategy will be completely different if you have a third of it and someone has more stacks, more chips than you, less chips than you, how far the prize is. Of course, sometimes you have 20 people out of 500 that get paid. There's going to be a different strategy than if 100 out of 500 get paid, So for me is to try to understand it, not make the mistakes cash gamers make, which is especially throwing chips away needlessly, We're used to, if the bluff makes sense, you simply go for it. But in tournaments, for various reasons, ICM, opportunity cost, you should be playing tighter, more weak tight, not in calling as much, but you should basically be a lot tighter. So that's for me. Try not to spaz, not to make the cash gamers mistakes, and try to understand the ranges. So strategically this, and obviously I'll be focusing still on cash games. The beginner's guide is going to be a big thing. And it's going to be basically people will be posting their hands. We want to make the videos. We want to make sure that people understand it in the English community and it's as much of a success as there. So live events, beginner's guide and try to understand content and how to actually play the tournament. Guys can play in Japan.
Yeah, tournament is different. Like if let's say if there's a lot of beginners, lower level than you don't want to take the high variance, spot, right? You can always wait for the better spot and opportunity cost too. So yeah, that's something different too. Yeah.
This is the thing. Like I think like my cash game style over the last 2 years, I always play like with low variance cash game style, and I barely had any losing months, right? But over the last few years, it's changed. Now, if you want to crash, even an L100, even if you want to destroy an L100, it's not going to be as common to have like zero, unless you put massive. But in tournaments, sorry for that, can't go in. So in tournaments, yes, of course, there are worse players, so you want to last, you don't want to throw it away. But that's also an independent chip model, right? ICM. Basically, every chip that you have in tournament, unless it's winner takes all, the chips you gain are worth less than the chips you actually lose. Because when you lose, you add equity to other players. So it's this, and to actually figure out what's the exact ratio of this is nearly impossible, right? Because, there's so many variables, so you'd have to adapt to that. But in general, in tournaments, you have to be tight. And I know Ben CB specifically, he always makes fun of the GTO wizards that they suck at tournaments because they're universally playing way too loose.
Yeah, I see. And I know you recommend rounders, right? Like if the movie, and if you recommend movie rounders, but is there any like a book that you recommend, poker related, non-poker related?
Right, poker related books, I think they struggle. They struggle from the outdated syndrome. You read a book, it gets outdated really fast. Unless there's two things, unless there's math or there's solutions. I think the mathematics of poker, if you guys are mathematically based, I think mathematics of poker is an ancient book, very, very old. But if you read this, the basics are still there. I think the problem in poker these days is, especially with the software, that people skip so many steps, right?
Okay.
Like, it's very tempting for beginners to not even know what the odds are on the river. They're looking at like advanced GTO wizard solutions. You have one for free every day, which I recommend, of course. They skip the Equilab, they skip the basic odds kind of deal. So yeah, mathematics of poker if you want fundamentals. And from the strategical books, Darrell Kearney and Barry Carter, if you do play tournaments, they are taking, finally someone is doing it, they are taking the solver approach where they node lock, they actually show you actual outputs from solvers. I think the books are better than now. And I know you mentioned they are starting to translate them into Japanese.
Yes.
Oh, who is doing this? But I talked to a publisher in Poland. He was like a really passionate guy who did this. Who is translating these books to Japanese?
So the main of those, obviously there's a lot of publishers, right? The main guy is actually the, I'm not sure if he's still with you guys, but he used to be the PokerStrategy.com Japanese guy. Yeah, he actually joined after me, after 6 months before I leave. Yeah, there's a guy named Matsuyama, Mr. Matsuyama, and he's the one guy that I guess known for translating. So yeah.
So it always is. I did an interview with the Polish. It always takes one person. All it takes is one guy. And the thing is, he's making a lot of money. I can guarantee you that the books have a massive success. Yeah. Because when you're the first one actually doing it and you start translating these books, at first you don't even need a publisher. It's just like everyone's like, oh, give me. So it was one guy from Poker Strategy. By the way, what did you do at Poker Strategy exactly?
So the first I worked for them like 2011 2013. Okay, I started as a moderator because I was the only guy posting blogs doing the $50 $1,000 bankroll challenge. Then I started doing the ticketing. I started doing more of the content creation. I even like doing support. Yeah, and I went to Gibraltar. I did a little content creation. Went back to Tokyo. Tried to promote Poker Strategy. Tried to promote poker itself. Back then it was
tough back then, right?
Sorry.
It was really hard back then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and there's nowhere like now, like if you go to Tokyo, probably there's like 50 to 100 places you can play, but back in the day maybe 10. Yeah, but nowadays so we have a so-called prefecture. It's like provinces in the States. We have 47 of those. And nowadays, I do think that there is at least one place in every single places. But back in the day, probably like, main 5 cities or something like that,
So, but you live in Canada now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, I have a bunch of family there. Do you know Kamloops by any chance? Oh, okay. Small town, whatever. My uncle is a coach. Are you thinking of going back to Japan because of all this poker boom, or are you like set in Canada now?
So right now, I'm trying to get the permanent residency. So I should get in within this year, next year. So until then, I'm gonna sit here. But who knows?
Yeah,
right?
You don't want to go back exactly.
Yeah, but who knows? Like, because a lot of people who's doing YouTubing, they go back to Japan, right? And they get invited to all the events, all the places. Come here, please, play with us, something like that. So yeah, that's a big possibility too. Yeah, they're going back to Japan, doing something for the community.
And it is the gold rush. If you think about it, it's like that's why I don't mind like focusing on content even on YouTube again. Back in the day, I minded because I was trying to be as good at cash as possible. Now, I don't mind not making as much money because there's so many opportunities. What you have to think about, like 5 years from now, Japan will be like, oh yeah, of course, poker. Everyone knows this, and we have these like influencers, and some made it on TV. But yeah, now it's like the golden times between now and 2030. I'm assuming, So yeah, it's gonna be really exciting,
Yeah, and it's not only for players, right? Like, let's say like an event, like what you did at the event. Just like going to the MC or interviewing people or organizing. Like there's so much opportunity to just be in the poker industry, translating show, and it's crazy. So there's one guy, Mr. Matsuyama, is doing a translation book, but there's so many guys translating GTO Wizard blogs for free, just because trying to help the community, or they want to they like the like button, they like the share button, maybe they feel good about themselves. But there's so many people doing that. So yeah, there are so many things that you can do, so many opportunity in Japan, and you can even open up a poker bar, right? It's low bar because there's people gonna come if there's a place you can play and there's drinks. And people gonna buy a chip which worth $0 and they pay like $20-$30 to just have fun. What kind of business is that, right? It's crazy. So yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah, you should definitely go for it.
Yeah.
Oh, one question I have for you. Like with my haircut, I actually have it based on Jiří Procházka. Have you heard that name?
Yeah. The UFC fighter. I am big on UFC, so yes.
Yeah. He was in Ryzen, I think. You know that?
He used to be. Yes, he used to be Ryzen. He moved to UFC, and within 3 to 4 fights, he became champion. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So he has this mentality of he went to Ryzen. He was all into the samurai stuff and stuff like that. Yeah. Do you think martial arts translate into poker, and do you think they basically make you better at the game, or do you think it's completely?
I do think 100%. Like when I explain what poker is, I do actually use the example like martial arts, because you have to have a discipline, and also it's more of the freestyle, right? Like let's say the bet sizing is like a punch. You can bet like this way, you can bet this way, right? And a small 30% is like a little jab, right? An overbet is like uppercut or something. And there's so many factors like that. And also you're facing with mostly against human, hopefully, and one-on-one situation. You're adapting to the guy. If the guy doesn't, block in the head, you're just going to attack in the middle part and the lower part. So you're finding their opponent's weakness and something like that too. And also never-ending learning, right? Martial arts, you never master. You gain black belt, you reach a certain point, but even the black belt, there's so many levels too. And if you go to championship, like top of the top is nowhere near than the just the person someone gets the black belt. So something like that, I do believe the martial arts, translate too. So I love your hairstyle. It just shows, right? Yeah. When did you start doing that?
I think I actually noticed before he won. I think it was before he went to UFC. Or maybe around his first match. Obviously, we're a small country, right? So when someone is actually going up, and here's the thing: a lot of poker players are into MMA. I'm not sure why. I think it's vice versa. Especially the StarCraft players went into poker and then went into betting on MMA and being MMA fans.
I watched the interview too, with Liquid Poker. He was into MMA and he was betting too. Yeah.
So I think you're like the only one who watched that part, because we had like an interview about poker and StarCraft. We ended up half of it talking about MMA. You know what makes a good fighter. No, but what actually brought me to him, you were asking about the books, is because he really, from his time in Japan, he got into the writings of Musashi, the Five Rings.
Yes.
I read that book, by the way, and it's like you can almost directly apply to poker. Being calm when you need to be, and focusing on the moment, present moment, right here. Accepting death. It's almost like accepting variance, right? It's almost the same. And using aggression at the right times. So I got to him for the fighting, and then Eric Tolle, Dan Millman. They are the ones that I recommend. And actually, Procházka has his own on YouTube podcast. He has his own like way of the warrior, So he has his own philosophy out there, and it's very much based on Japan.
Yeah.
So I was interested in this. He lost now. Actually, I started noticing in the last about half a year or a year, he started doing a lot more advertisements. He started advertising gambling and energy drinks. I was thinking, he was always this like great role model, and I was like, wait, hang on, he's doing exactly what I'm doing, and he's meant to be the better person. Hang on, that's why I follow him.
Yeah.
Sure enough, he lost, and he now came out and he's saying, oh, maybe I should be more straightforward, So actually, it makes me think if part of why he actually lost was that he has lost like the first, the focus, nothing commercial. And he started doing a little bit more of this like PR stuff, and we'll see. But he's one of the role models, and I think UFC many people hate it, but I know it's big in Japan, right? Yeah. I know Rise and other organizations.
I think the Procházka's issue is he's always didn't have a fundamental. He was always the funky guy doing a little karate and a lot of movement, and that caught a lot of UFC fighters. But now, because it's exploitative scenario, he does those funky move. Then he got injuries, and he's not young. So I think he started seeing what's the next career. And a lot of UFC fighters nowadays get a lot of endorsement, sponsorship, unless they want to open up the gym, like MMA gym or something. So
okay.
Yeah. So I think that's the clear path for them: the social media, YouTube, and because you can't fight for the rest of your life.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I don't know about energy drinks. Yeah, maybe something like a smoothie or something. But energy drink, not so much.
So how good were you actually in Jiu-Jitsu?
Got a value?
Were you good?
Sorry,
are you actually good at martial arts? Are you actually good?
Oh, my Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, so I would say I'm like NL25 to NL50 player in the Jiu-Jitsu.
So you can make a living, right?
No. But I can teach beginners, right? I can beat up most of the people, but there's so many people out there. But I have a good fundamentals. I love Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, if you want to try, it's a good way to lose weight.
Martial arts for sure.
Jiu-Jitsu.
I'm a goalkeeper, but I don't like to get hit though. Is that like common?
Yeah. Well,
how did you overcome that?
So I was goalie too. Okay, I was a 5-sided goalie, and I didn't like getting hit. So I had a hockey mask for my face, and I'm cup and everything. But Jiu-Jitsu, you don't get hit. Okay, so you.
Right, okay.
So let's say if you watch MMA or anything, think about MMA without striking. So that's Jiu-Jitsu. Right. So you strangle. Basically, you're hugging each other. And
yes. Is it grappling mostly?
Yes, grappling. Yes. You start.
It's grappling.
Yeah. You start with the standing. You take down. You go down and do a lot of hugging and just like mounting. A lot of crazy positions. And once they get caught, right? Let's say I'm choking. And right before you pass out, or even that that they caught me, you tap. And they got the arm, right? Right before it starts extending, you just tap. So
Oh, okay.
So there's
So it is actually grappling.
yes, grappling, and it is very, very less risky for the injury. So let's say like boxing, okay? And if you want to be good at boxing, you go to sparring, and you somehow get hit, even if you have a face guard and everything, you get hit, and those damage will get you, right? But grappling, even if you go 100%, you're not gonna get like damage in your body. All you get is tired. It's just maybe a little bit of stretch. Sometimes you get injured, but it's so low risk. So, and also you think about it. It's people say it's like a chess, human chess. It's you're playing a chess with your body, and you figure out the position, and everything. So I do think that a lot of poker players like it because it is strategic sport. So.
Yeah, the martial arts in general and poker, it's been a big. There's been so many MMA fights and boxing fights and stuff like that, Oh yeah, I wonder. So, are you ever gonna challenge someone to an MMA match, in poker? I think that would be really good for your content, right? Hey, Phil Hellmuth, let's go for it.
Yeah. So I only know Jiu-Jitsu, and this winter I'm trying to get the striking. So at some point, maybe some guy in a prop bet or something. I know like they've got the something, right? Like they do boxing for a few minutes and they play poker or something. Like I think they had that. Yeah, it's similar thing in the chess, right? You play chess, you go boxing.
Chess boxing.
Yeah. So maybe we can do that heads up match for 5 minutes, 1 minute of grappling, something like that.
You shouldn't tell people that you do jiu-jitsu though. You should just tell them, "Oh, I'm just a poker player,
Japanese guy, right?
Yeah, Japanese guy. Arigato, and then when it comes to it, you're like, you just take them down, make your millions.
Yeah, kill it.
And then you challenge someone. Yeah, exactly.
I do feel like you have a lot of love or connection to the Japanese community. Like, is contents like anime or gaming is big in Czech Republic?
There's a lot of people. Like, obviously, I started in Scotland. I think Dragon Ball Z and One Punch Man. They're like the big ones. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are into anime, that the subculture is reasonably big in Europe in general. I mean, I think around the world, like the big ones are really starting to spread, especially with internet. Of course, I think it started here with Pokemon. Everyone was obsessed with it. Pokemon Go was massive in Czech Republic. Everyone was watching Pokemon as well. So that's how it started. Pokemon, Digimon. I think when the people grew up, they started finding the niche, like shonen, of course. But even you can go to a cinema and they would show anime from time to time here. So if you guys want to watch anime, go to Czech Republic and to any cinema, of course. And well, for me, Jiří Procházka goes to Rising, so it's very cool that an MMA organization can actually get the foreigners to go there and compete. That was really cool.
Yeah, back in the early 2000s, we have all the professional, like top MMA fighters, different name, not Rising.
Was it Bellator?
No, Bellator was different. Pride. The name was Pride.
Oh, Pride. Yeah.
It was a Japanese organization, even though it was bigger than UFC, and UFC kind of, kicked them out and became UFC. So
with the marketing and everything. Yeah,
but amazing. So at the end, and we're reaching to the end. Great, like 2.5 hours interview. But if you have any message to the Japanese poker community, which is pretty young, we're still growing. Any message to the community?
Hi guys, so what I want you to do is write down in the comments and go to the comments and say, Shinpei, do the poker strategy beginner strategy for us, okay? Because if 1,000 people go to the English one, imagine how many would be there in the Japanese community, all right? So that's the number one advice, guys. Go to the comments.
That's actually something I'm probably going to do it. So don't worry about that. I'm going to publish that. Yes, 100%.
So number one, go to the comments. Say, you have to do it. I mean, seriously, if 1,000 people, I thought we got like spammed by bots or something. It's like bots on poker strategy. And I'm like, how did they jump so high? And so imagine how crazy it will go. You will single-handedly revive like Japanese poker strategy. So number one thing, pressure on you to translate it and go into it. And second, I've been coaching poker players for 10 years. You probably can tell that I enjoy it. And I have to say that, you go into the poker, realize what it is. It is an entertainment industry, okay? Whether you are a professional poker players these days, it's a tough way to make an easy living, okay? So number one, make sure you enjoy poker. Find out what you enjoy about it, Just because we're talking about you have to play seriously doesn't mean you can't just go to tournaments, have some fun, not study at all, and take it as entertainment. If you want to play, and this is the beauty of the game, if you play it, you learn it, you quit, you come back. Maybe you will have to catch up on the meta. Maybe you'll have to change the game you play. But it's always there. It's basically a lifetime hobby, job, and it can serve all sorts of different purposes, for you. So yeah, as we talked about with the top professionals, find your own path. Find out what you actually want from poker, what's really enjoyable for you, and enjoy yourself, because we are really in the entertainment era. And for you guys in Japan, there's never going to be a better time than this, because it is exciting. It's on the way up. You don't still have the miserable people that burnt out after 10 years that we do have in Europe, and you don't know what the problems are because you're starting with the community. So that's my message to you. Enjoy poker. It's an amazing game. Find out how best to enjoy it and stuff.
Thank you very much. Today's guest was Václav Dušek from Czech Republic. Thank you so much for your time and energy and love for the poker.
Thank you so much, Shinpei. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
See you later, guys.